Chapter 157. There's still the third stage of training. Ma Hongjuan's smiling face collapsed as he wailed. Not only him, but other than Tang San, everyone else also looked uncomfortable. The master's devilish training was really tiring, and it was best to avoid it if possible. What? Do you have any objections? The master said indifferently. Hearing this tone, everyone instantly recalled the fear of being dominated by the training and shook their heads. No objections. Just as everyone had bitter expressions, a figure quickly walked over. Dean Flanders, how are you? Disciple Qin Ming is here to pay his respects. This person was Qin Ming. He took a few steps to Flanders and knelt down on one knee. He had a look of excitement on his face. I thought you had forgotten about us. Flanders laughed and helped him up. Zhao Wuji also laughed and said, Good fellow, it's just as old Ghost Fu thought. You're already a Soul Emperor. It won't be long before you can catch up to us old fellows. Soul Emperor? Tang San and the others opened their mouths in shock. Such a young Soul Emperor really shocked them. Furthermore, he seemed to be very familiar with Dean Flanders and the others. Was he also a teacher of the academy? Everyone was instantly curious. Qin Ming said respectfully, The two deans are also very powerful. It won't be long before you become a Soul Douluo. No matter what, Qin Ming will always be a disciple of the Shrek Academy. Hearing this, Tang San and the others reacted. It turned out that Qin Ming was also a student of the Shrek Academy like them. Such a young Soul Emperor was really powerful. Flanders chuckled and patted Qin Ming's shoulder. You've left the academy for so long. No need to be restrained. Come, let me introduce you to each other. This is Qin Ming. I'm sure you're all very curious about his identity. He's the same as all of you. He was once a student of Shrek Academy, and he was the first batch of graduates from the most outstanding academy. Under everyone's astonished gazes, Flanders introduced Qin Ming. This is the master, and the 7 of them are Shrek's 7 monsters. They're also your juniors. As for this one, when he mentioned Lin Feng, Flanders paused for a moment, but he quickly smiled and said, His name is Lin Feng. He can be considered the most talented student in the history of Shrek Academy. Hearing this name, Qin Ming immediately became curious. The most talented student? How talented was he? Also, he didn't seem to be among the 7 people fighting just now. However, they were all wearing masks now, so Qin Ming couldn't see their faces for a while. However, the most important thing was still the master. Very soon, Qin Ming bowed slightly to the master. Greetings, master. After that, he smiled and said, Grandmaster, I presume you're the one behind Shrek's 7 monster strategy. Tian Hung told me that they underestimated their opponents in this battle, but that wasn't the main reason they lost. Instead, it was because Shrek's 7 monster strategy was far too powerful and swift. The battle had ended in just over a minute, and this was even with such a massive disparity in soul power ranks. Qin Ming was very impressed by the people who had come up with such a strategy. Furthermore, the Imperial Do battle team had been too arrogant. They had always been victorious, and these victories had given them pride and made them lose their previous vigilance. However, after losing this battle with such a massive disparity in strength, they quickly recognized themselves and understood what it meant when people said that there was always someone better out there. It wasn't me. The master chuckled. They came up with these strategies on their own. I only helped them analyze their opponents. They came up with these strategies on their own. Qin Ming exclaimed. The students of Shrek Academy were definitely not old. Qin Ming was very surprised that they could come up with such exquisite strategies at such a young age. At this moment, Zhao Wuji chimed in. Grandmaster, you're wrong. In my opinion, although these strategies were thought up by Xiao San and the others, if it weren't for Xiao Feng's crafty ideas, I don't think Xiao San and the others would have thought of so many things. Yes, if it weren't for Feng Ji's good teachings, we wouldn't have come up with these strategies, Ning Rongrong hurriedly said. Oscar was a little more quick-witted. He quickly added, and Grandmaster. It's only because of Grandmaster and Feng Ji's continuous teachings that we've become so outstanding. Oscar praised all 3 parties with a single sentence. He was very pleased with himself. as expected of the elegant and graceful me. Fonga? Qin Ming was slightly puzzled. However, he subconsciously turned his gaze to Lin Feng. This was the person who had been praised by Flanders as the most talented student in the history of Shrek Academy. Dang, dang, dang. Fonga, that's him. Xiao Wu hugged Xiao Ying with her left hand and pointed at Lin Feng with her right. Her tone was very cheerful. Could it be that most talented? Lin Feng took a step forward and said with a smile, "That's right, it's me. Xiao Feng, this guy." The police beat them up until they had no choice but to think of a way. Then they gave some pointers and ended up like this. Zhao Wuji added, "Shrek's 7 monsters. What did he mean by beating them up? Although they were beaten up, it was clearly called pointers." Grandmaster also said, "We and some other teachers mainly trained Xiao San and the others to strengthen their physical fitness. In terms of combat tactics, I actually taught very little. It was mainly Xiao Feng who taught them." Qin Ming sighed with emotion when he heard everyone praising Lin Feng so much. "I didn't expect that such a genius would appear in Shrek Academy. This is really beyond my expectations. It seems that our Shrek Academy is developing much better than before." Shrek Academy. In the past, it was very poor, so poor that it couldn't even afford to eat. However, looking at the current situation, it seemed to have recovered a lot. To have such a genius come to learn, he was simply a monster among monsters. After all, the person who could come up with such a tactic must have rich combat experience. It's not much better. These children should be the last batch of students in the academy. After graduation, we will no longer recruit people. Zhao Wuji sighed. Hasn't the academy's financial problem been solved yet?" Qin Ming asked subconsciously. But soon, he realized that he had said something wrong and was slightly embarrassed. Tang San and the others were also surprised. "Dean, we still have a lot of money on us. If the academy's funds are not enough, we can sponsor it." Funds are only one aspect of the problem, but it's actually not the main reason. You won this match, and the Great Soul Arena gave you 10,000 gold coins. Flanders sighed. "The main reason is that we are old and tired. Now, we don't have the impulse from back then. After Xiao San and the other children graduate, we can also live the life we want. If the academy really wanted to continue, it was still possible. After all, it had been holding on for so many years. Every time they said that they couldn't hold on, didn't they still hold on in the end? The main reason was still themselves. They were old and should retire." Chapter 158. Flanders sighed. "Qin Ming, the Imperial Dough Battle Team's kids aren't bad. You taught them well. Every single one of them is an elite." Flanders clearly didn't want to talk about that topic any longer. He changed the subject and no one brought it up again. Qin Ming laughed bitterly. "It's not because I taught them well. Those kids are naturally talented and have undergone special training from our academy. That's why they're so strong. But even so, they can't compare to my juniors." "Oh, so you're saying that you're now a teacher in a school?" Flinder looked at him with some surprise. He thought the Imperial Dough Battle Team was specially trained by Qin Ming. After all, there were many soul masters who specialized in leading teams in the soul dueling arena. For example, Qin Ming was like the boss of an esports club in his previous life, and the Imperial Dough Battle Team was a team under that club. Qin Ming nodded. "I'm currently a teacher in Heaven Dough Imperial Academy. The 7 members of the Imperial Dough Battle Team are the most outstanding students in the academy. I came here to train them and take a look at Shrek Academy. I didn't expect my juniors to give me such a big gift so soon." Flanders chuckled. "This isn't the place to talk. Since the soul dueling arena is over, let's go to the hotel to celebrate. We haven't seen each other in so many years." Of course they should celebrate, but before that, Grandmaster Qin Ming had to bring everyone to Shrek's 7 monsters to tally up their points. Just like that, Flanders, Zhao Wuji, and Qin Ming left the soul dueling arena, while Grandmaster Qin Ming brought everyone else to tally up their points. While Qin Ming and Flanders were chatting, Tang San and the others were whispering about Heaven Dough Imperial Academy. Now that Qin Ming had left, they immediately let loose and started discussing. All of them were very excited. "So that's the Heaven Dough Imperial Academy's elite team. They only lasted a minute against us. So we're already this strong? Ha ha!" Ma Hongjun laughed heartily. He was very pleased with himself. Bang! There was no need for Lin Feng to make a move. Dai Mubai knocked Ma Hongjuan's laughter to a halt. What's there to be proud of? Didn't you see that the Imperial battle team lost because of their pride? Do you want to follow in his footsteps? Of course not. I'm just happy. Ma Hongjun chuckled. Soon, everyone arrived at the Seoul Dueling Hall. Thanks to manager Ao's enthusiasm, Shrek's 7 monsters points were quickly calculated. 10,000 gold coins and 3,500 gold coins as an appearance fee were nothing compared to the Gold Warrior Soul Party badge. Iron, copper, silver, gold, purple gold, sapphire, ruby, and diamond. There were 8 levels in total. This was the 4th level of the badge. Generally speaking, it was rare for a Soul Master to win so many matches in a row. This was especially true for low-level Soul Masters. Most of them were iron or copper. Silver ones were extremely rare. Once a Soul Master reached rank 40 and had more soul rings, their strength would increase, and the advantages of their martial souls would be revealed. At that time, the gap in strength between Soul Masters would widen. The situation with Shrek's 7 monsters was simply unprecedented in history. They had won nearly 30 matches in a row. They were all monsters. Just like that, everyone left the Soul Dueling Arena under the enthusiastic gazes of the staff. Grandmaster Ao parted ways with everyone on the way to the hotel. Lin Feng knew that Grandmaster Ao had gone to console his nephew. After all, Grandmaster Ao was still a member of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon clan. Everyone ignored him and continued on their way to the hotel. Today was a celebratory feast, so they had to eat to their heart's content. In the hotel, Flinder was very considerate. He directly ordered a table full of dishes for everyone in the large private room. After all, the Shrek Academy had defeated the elites of the Heaven Do Imperial Academy. He was very happy, so what if he spent some money? In any case, he had earned a few hundred gold coins from the Soul Dueling Arena. Even so, Flanders' heart ached when he spent the money. This was the 2nd time in a month that he had to treat everyone to a meal. Although it was nothing compared to Zhao Wuji's 3 times, Grandmaster Ao's 5 times, Xiao San's 10 times, and Lin Feng's 20 times, Flanders felt that treating everyone to a meal twice was already a lot. Today's a happy day. Let's drink until we're drunk. Ma Hongjun grabbed a cup of wine and downed it without any hesitation. At the same time, Tang San and the others walked in and sat down. On the other hand, Qi Ming was slightly stunned. Dean, when did the Shrek Academy have so many students? Qi Ming couldn't be blamed for not recognizing them. When they were in the Soul Dueling Arena, Shrek's 7 monsters were all wearing masks. So Qi Ming thought they were 15 or 16-years-old students. But now, Tang San and the others who came in looked to be only 13 years old on average. He couldn't believe that these people were Shrek's 7 monsters. After all, most of them were Soul Elders. A 13-year-old Soul Elder? What a joke. You can't recognize them? Flanders smiled. You haven't been apart for long. What? Qi Ming was surprised. They are Shrek's 7 monsters. The most talented student is also in the middle. Although he didn't see Lin Feng's face, Qi Ming subconsciously looked at Lin Feng, who was holding Xiao Ying. That's right. Zhao Wuji and Flanders looked at each other and smiled. Seeing Qi Ming's surprised look, they felt very comfortable. Before Tang San and the others came, the 2 of them talked about how Qi Ming's strength was already a Soul Emperor. This kid was still modest to them. Now that he was shocked, he was scared to death. The Genius Academy's Lin Feng you mentioned, what's his soul power rank? Qi Ming asked curiously. Previously, he only got information about Shrek's 7 monsters. As for Lin Feng, he didn't know, so he was very curious at this time. Rank 33, Lin Feng said calmly. Zhao Wuji added. Not long after entering the school, Xiao Feng, Xiao San, Xiao Wu, and Xiao Ao broke through rank 30 at almost the same time. Your previous rank 30 record was broken by them. They're only about 13 years old now, and Xiao Wu isn't even 13 yet. Lin Feng was the oldest among the new students. He turned 13 years old not long after entering the school. During the later training, Tang San was also 13 years old. Xiao Wu and the others weren't, but they would be soon. This is really too shocking. Qin Ming didn't know what to say about a 12-year-old soul elder. Just when he thought that was all, Ning Rongrong laughed and said, "Soul power ranks don't mean much to Fengge. The main thing is his strength." He knocked over a trash soul king with one punch. You have to know that Fengge is only an auxiliary-type soul master. Qin Ming, what kind of monsters are these? Since when are soul kings considered trash? Also, can a soul elder who can knock over soul king with one punch be called an auxiliary-type soul master? That's clearly called a monster. Chapter 159. Actually, this information couldn't be said carelessly. However, Qin Ming wasn't an outsider, and Flanders didn't hide many things from him. So Ning Rongrong revealed it to him. The consequence of this was that Qin Ming had to spend a full minute to recover from his shock. Knocking over a soul king with one punch? An auxiliary-type soul master? Are you serious? Qin Ming swallowed his saliva. Lin Feng laughed. Of course not. I'm a healing-type soul master, and that soul king was very weak. Knocking him over with one punch is nothing. If you give me a weak soul emperor right now, I can knock him over with one punch too. Qin Ming. The shock of a second strike left Qin Ming speechless for a long time. Perhaps the soul emperors in the eyes of geniuses were different from the soul emperors in his eyes. Knocking over a weak soul emperor with one punch? How weak was this soul emperor? Was he considered weak? Qin Ming suddenly felt that he had been dealt a blow. He shouldn't have asked that question earlier. To one side, Xiao Wu smiled and said, "Senior Qin Ming, the weak soul emperors that Brother Feng is talking about are the ones with 10-year soul rings and 10,000-year soul rings." Qin Ming, actually, Xiao Wu was right. This soul emperor was quite weak, and Qin Ming could easily beat him up. However, when these words came out of the mouth of a 13-year-old junior, it felt strange. According to Lin Feng's words, Qin Ming felt as if he had suddenly seen a primary school student publish a genetic thesis or a primary school student do scientific research. It felt very unreal. Perhaps afraid that Qin Ming would be too shocked, Flanders hurriedly changed the topic. Just like that, they chatted and chatted until the topic of Heavendo Imperial Academy came up. Qin Ming said, "Heavendo Imperial Academy has many drawbacks. They say that they recruit students from all over the Heavendo Empire, but it's actually just an academy for nobles. There are all kinds of students in there, and the various systems are just for nobles. But comparatively speaking, the various facilities, resources, and so on in the academy are all top-notch. They are extremely useful for the cultivation of soul masters. I was thinking, how good would it be if I let you bunch of hard-working children enter the academy?" On the side, Flanders laughed and scolded. "You brat, this is my last batch, and you actually want to poach them? The Shrek Academy doesn't welcome you." "Don't, how could I? Why would I poach the dean student? I was just making an example," Qin Ming said. At this moment, the master suddenly walked in. "I think the children can follow you to the Heavendo Imperial Academy." The first thing the master said when he entered the door attracted everyone's attention. Flanders was even more furious. "Xiao Gang, we're not old yet. I won't retire until I've finished teaching this last batch of students. If worst comes to worst, I'll just stake my old bones and teach them well. Why are you so excited?" The master calmly said, "I'm not asking Xiao San and the others to join the Heavendo Imperial Academy. My intentions are simple. The two academies will have an exchange, and we'll go to the Heavendo Imperial Academy to study and cultivate. Furthermore, what's the point of teaching them well? There are many things that our academy can't give them." Flanders fell silent when he heard this. Zhao Wuji didn't understand the situation. "What can't we give them? Didn't we earn 10,000 gold coins before? Isn't that enough training?" The group of students didn't understand what was going on, but Qin Ming and Lin Feng had already figured it out. Strictly speaking, the Shrek Academy couldn't be considered a Soul Master Academy. There were many things that they didn't have, and their foundation was too weak. Under these circumstances, Flanders couldn't even register in any of the empires or kingdoms. Speaking of which, the Shrek Academy was the equivalent of a wild chicken university in his previous world. It didn't even have a license. In fact, there weren't any official records of this academy in the empires or kingdoms. Back then, the Tsanghue Academy's reaction was very normal. After all, the Shrek Academy only had a little bit of fame in the vicinity. AI, the master side. Some things can't be solved with just training. If our academy can provide two things, Xiao San and the others won't need to go to Heaven Do. First, a simulated cultivation environment. Second, the qualifications to participate in the Continental Elite Academy tournament a year from now. Can you provide these things? Flanders continued to remain silent. He couldn't provide any of the things the master said. Furthermore, he knew that these things were very beneficial to Tang San and the others. With the support of a powerful academy, they could all break through to the title Douluo before the age of 50. If Flanders stopped them now, he would be destroying their futures. However, he also knew that the so-called exchange students were just putting it nicely. In reality, they would be joining Heaven Do Academy. If they wanted to participate in the Continental Elite Academy tournament, they wouldn't be representing Shrek Academy, but Heaven Do Imperial Academy. But Flanders still had a trace of stubbornness. No buts. Besides, I haven't finished speaking. The master continued. The children can join Heaven Do Imperial Academy. In the final competition, they can also win glory for Heaven Do Imperial Academy. However, they must be taught by us personally. Furthermore, Heaven Do Imperial Academy cannot interfere. Furthermore, when we want to leave after the competition, Heaven Do Imperial Academy cannot stop us. The master's requirements were very strict. If it were an ordinary person, they wouldn't even agree. However, Qin Ming knew how powerful Shrek's 7 monsters were. If the master said that they could win glory, then they definitely had a chance to enter the top 10 of the Heaven Do Empire. Under these circumstances, these conditions were still acceptable. Qin Ming muttered to himself, I'm sure the education committee will agree when they see such intelligent children. However, this is an extremely difficult decision for Dean Flanders. It's fine. Let's do it this way, Flanders said with difficulty. Little Gang is right. I can't use my own pride to restrict the children. The children have a better stage, so we have to send them to it. Otherwise, if they're trapped in this small place, their achievements won't be as great as on the big stage. You guys could discuss this matter. I need to be alone for a while. With that, Flinder turned around and walked outside. It must have been very difficult for him to make such a big decision all of a sudden. Zhao Wuji gave Ma Hongjun a look. The latter understood and hurriedly followed him out. As Dean Flanders' personal disciple, he was more effective than a master in consoling him. Chapter 160. Finally, the Grand Master and Qin Ming started to discuss the details. Lin Feng, on the other hand, was still gorging himself on the food, as if he hadn't heard anything at all. The others were discussing what the Heaven Do Imperial Academy was like and what was the mimicry. Also, what's with the Continental Soul Master Tournament? Not long after, the Grand Master and Qin Ming finished their discussion. After hearing everyone's discussion, the Grand Master told them about the mimicry in the Continental Elite Soul Master Academy competition. It turned out that the so-called mimicry was a cultivation environment that humans spent a lot of money to create. Why did soul beasts cultivate faster in the forest? It was just that the environment was more suitable. The mimicry was to create all kinds of simulated environments. Every soul master's martial soul was different, and in these different environments, their cultivation speed would also be different. As long as Tang San and the rest cultivated in the mimicry, their cultivation speed would increase by another level. In this way, the chances of them becoming a titled Douluo before the age of 50 would be higher. As for the Continental Elite Soul Master Academy competition, it was a grand event, and all the Soul Master Academies on the continent would participate. The glory and rewards from the competition wouldn't be any worse than having a high-level soul in the great soul dueling arena. The Grand Master knew that these two things couldn't be given by the Shrek Academy, so he rushed to the hotel to make this decision after talking to Yu Qianning. If not for the Grand Master's close relationship with Flanders, Flanders would have beaten him up. But now, perhaps this was the best choice he could make. The Grand Master and Qin Ming quickly came to an agreement. In 2 months, they would head to the Heaven Do Imperial Academy. During these 2 months, Flanders and the rest had to deal with the aftermath of the Shrek Academy. As for Tang San and the rest, they had to focus on cultivating their soul power. The original half-month break was cut in half because of this sudden incident. Just as everyone from Shrek was packing up and returning to the village, the soul sage who had met Lin Feng was passing on a message in a hotel near the Martial Soul main hall. It said that Black Tiger Fu might be related to the Heaven Do Imperial Academy. Actually, Douluo's detection techniques weren't that great. They mainly relied on people with special martial souls to secretly observe. What they could detect depended on what the soul master could discover. Coincidentally, this soul sage had seen Qin Ming before, so he immediately knew that Qin Ming was from the Heaven Do Imperial Academy. As for Grandmaster Flanders, he might have heard of them before, but he'd never seen them before. So until now, he still didn't know which force Black Tiger Fu was following belonged to. But soon, he received a report from his subordinates that the group of people he paid special attention to was leaving Soto City. It seemed like they were not going to return for a while. After hearing this news, the soul sage couldn't sit still any longer. He immediately followed them out, wanting to know which organization they belonged to. At the same time, Lin Feng and the others had already left the city and were heading towards the Shrek Academy. Roughly a minute later, the soul sage walked out as well. But what he didn't know was that not long after he walked out, Lin Feng's avatar also walked out from a tree near the city gate. Damn it, someone was following them. They were courting death. Lin Feng's perception was outstanding. Under normal circumstances, he would have been able to sense Douluo's presence if he were to observe freely. However, the soul sage who was following them had a special martial soul. He was almost as good at concealing himself as Douluo. Lin Feng could sense him every time, but he couldn't discover him. They were returning to the Shrek Academy this time. Of course, they couldn't let these people know their exact location. So Lin Feng sent an avatar to kill this person. Of course, this person's martial soul was special. It didn't matter if he couldn't be killed, as long as he didn't continue to follow them. After all, there were so many villages outside Soto City. As long as Lin Feng told everyone to cultivate in the villages and not leave, nothing major would happen. Furthermore, everyone was walking on a main road. If the person following them didn't continue to follow them, who knew where they would stop? It was even possible that they would run to another city. Therefore, as long as this person stopped following them, nothing would happen. Furthermore, they would be heading north to Heaven Do City in 2 months. In this inefficient ancient society, it was too difficult to find someone in just 2 months. As he thought, Lin Feng's avatar quickly followed them. At a corner, he found an opportunity and unleashed his netherworld power. He instantly attacked the soul sage. Even a lion would use its full strength to hunt a rabbit. Against a puny soul sage, Lin Feng didn't underestimate him. He attacked with all his might. At this moment, Lin Feng was extremely fast. He was so fast that even Douluo couldn't react in time. A streak of flowing light flashed past. The soul sage didn't even know what had happened. His entire body was split into 2 by Lin Feng's blade. After removing the storage-type soul tool from the soul sage's body, Lin Feng's blazing flower appeared in his hand. He easily swept the soul sage away. Not even his ashes were left behind. The soul tool was opened. Oh, there weren't many things, but they were all quite interesting. Lin Feng saw some gold coins and hidden weapons inside. There was also a token from the Martial Soul Hall. It looked quite high class, and there were 4 imprints on it. Apart from that, there were also some commonly used tools, such as pen and paper, clothes, and food. Yes, Lin Feng also discovered some folded secret letters in a corner. He grabbed them and took a look. Most of them were secrets of the Empire. For example, some city lords were colluding with some family, and some people from some family had advanced in cultivation. These things only seemed interesting. In fact, they were useless to Lin Feng. Of course, there were some things that Lin Feng was interested in. There were a few orders. For example, they included investigating Black Tiger Fu, evaluating Black Tiger Fu, and investigating Thanos' identity. These were all recent orders. As for the secrets of the Empire, They were all accumulated over the past few years. In fact, these things shouldn't have been leaked. The main reason was that Lin Feng was too strong. In addition to the sneak attack, he killed the Soul Sage in an instant. Otherwise, with this Soul Sage's strength, even if he was facing Douluo, he would still have time to destroy these secrets. These things weren't worth caring about. After looking through them, Lin Feng burned them all. It was just capturing Thanos. What did it have to do with Lin Feng? Lin Feng didn't panic at all. After finishing these things, he quickly rushed towards the Shrek Academy. Night, in the Heaven Do Imperial Palace. Xue Qinghe looked at the information in his hand and frowned. Black Tiger Ah Fu was related to the Heaven Do Imperial Academy? Could it be that Thanos was secretly groomed by the Heaven Do Empire? But as the Crown Prince, he didn't know anything? Chapter 161. Xue Qinghe still did not know that the Soul Sage had been killed, and no one else knew either. After all, Lin Feng had destroyed the corpse, and the Soul Sage would not return for a few days. This matter would not be exposed in a short period of time. Xue Qinghe was worried about another matter. Thanos might be related to the royal family of Heaven Do. It would be fine if he was from a large noble family. Secretly nurturing a titled Douluo would not be a big deal. He was afraid that the royal family would nurture someone. If that was the case, the person behind this could not be the arrogant fourth prince, Avalanche. It could only be the Snowy Night Emperor. And the Snowy Night Emperor did not tell him, the Crown Prince, about this matter. This meant that he was not trusted at all. Of course, this was only a guess. He did not know the specifics. However, Xue Qinghe also knew that it was useless to find Thanos now. It was more important to thoroughly investigate whether the Snowy Night Emperor was secretly nurturing someone. For a time, the undercurrents in Heaven Do Imperial City surged. Lin Feng did not know that his meeting with Qin Ming had caused a series of chain reactions. At this moment, in the Shrek Academy, everything was very leisurely. Flanders and the rest were busy with the Academy's matters. Tang San and the rest were cultivating on their own. They wanted to strive to increase one level in these 2 months. As for Lin Feng, he could now multitask. He meditated all day long and continued to train his various abilities at the same time. Some people did not like to stay at home. They could not sit still. Staying at home for one more day was torture. They would be happy to go out for a walk. But some people did not like to go out. Other than going to work or school, they wished they could stay at home every day. Lin Feng belonged to the second type of person. However, this did not mean that Lin Feng was lazy. On the contrary, he was very disciplined and hardworking. He knew that only by working harder could he become stronger. He simply did not like to move around. It felt good to be in a familiar place, doing familiar things. However, during these 2 months, Lin Feng didn't plan to stay idle. He planned to take a stroll in the Star Do Great Forest. At the moment, he was finally at the level of a titled battle pet warrior, Douluo. Even if he were to encounter a 100,000-year soul beast, he would still dare to fight it. Under such circumstances, Lin Feng's objective for entering the forest was very simple. I'll earn a lot of experience points and use them to upgrade my soul bone to a 100,000-year level. If I encounter a suitable soul beast, I'll be able to break through to Soul Douluo. After all, a rank 95 title Douluo was simply too weak. If he were to encounter a true expert, such as a level 97 Super Douluo or a demigod, he would die if he was trapped. We're about to head to Heaven Do City, so it's time to strengthen our forces. Just like that, Lin Feng headed straight for the Star Do Great Forest. At the same time, he brought Xiaoying back to play. The little guy was bored to death. It was time to return to the forest to rejuvenate it. Just like that, 50 days passed in the blink of an eye. During this period, everyone cultivated very hard. Tang San even took this opportunity to strengthen his hidden weapons. He even created 7 flying godly claws. These things could be used in low-level battles. As for Lin Feng, he was a human-shaped Tyrannosaurus. He could probably jump further than these things. Tang San wouldn't prepare them for Lin Feng. That night, Xiao Wu, Zhu Zhuqing, and Ning Rongrong were whispering to each other. When they were in Soto City, the 3 of them lived together. Therefore, after returning to the academy, The three of them moved in together. When is Feng Ge coming back? It's almost the end of the month. If he doesn't come back soon, I'm going to break through to rank 33. Xiao Wu had a smug look on her face. Although she was talking about Lin Feng on the surface, she was actually flaunting her strength. In fact, Xiao Wu had already reached rank 33. She was hiding her strength by saying this. Xiao Wu, I didn't expect you to level up so quickly. However, I'm not slow either. At most, I'll be able to break through to rank 29 in a month. As she spoke, Ning Rongrong suddenly laughed. Take Shi, you're not ranked 29 yet, right? Looks like I'm getting closer and closer to you. When the time comes, Feng Ge will lose to me. Ha ha! However, Ning Rongrong's laughter came to an abrupt halt. This was because Zhu Zhuqing's voice sounded. I reached rank 29 a month ago. You're kidding, right? Ning Rongrong was shocked. The three of us have been living together for so long, but I didn't feel your soul power breakthrough. The three of them spent most of their time together. If there was a breakthrough in soul power, Ning Rongrong should have been able to sense it. However, she didn't notice it at all. That day, the two of you went to eat first. I accidentally broke through, Zhu Zhuqing said. Ning Rongrong was speechless. Don't take Shi. Ning Rongrong hurriedly said, cultivate slower. When I beat Feng Ge, we'll make that request together. Even now, Ning Rongrong was still thinking about the bet. She wanted to surpass Zhu Zhuqing and make Lin Feng promise her one thing. Xiao was obviously on Feng Ji's side. She hurriedly said, how can we do that? That's cheating. Unless what? Ning Rongrong asked curiously. Unless you count me in. When the time comes, I'll make this request too. Xiao Wu giggled. Ning Rongrong was speechless. Zhu Zhuqing was speechless. If Lin Feng knew what Xiao Wu was thinking, he would probably give her a few hard knocks on the head. She betrayed his brother so easily. Xiao Wu, I didn't expect you to treat Feng Ge like this. Ning Rongrong jumped onto Xiao Wu's bed and scratched her itchy flesh. It seems like your true love is third brother. What are you talking about? That's not true. Xiao Wu's face instantly turned red, from her neck to her forehead. In the next second, he retaliated. You're still talking about me? Last time, when your grandpa Jian came over and said that you liked Feng Ge, your face was as red as an apple. What? Ning Rongrong paused and stuttered. Her cheeks suddenly became hot. You're still denying it? Your face is red again. Xiao Wu giggled and started scratching Ning Rongrong. The two of them were laughing happily. Zhu Zhuqing watched from the side with a face full of smiles. When he heard the two of them talking about Feng Ge, he subconsciously felt a little nervous. At this time, Xiao Wu and Ning Rongrong tacitly stopped what they were doing and turned to look at Zhu Zhuqing. Rongrong, look, Take Shi has been laughing at us. What should we do? Touch her. Ning Rongrong smiled. The two of them instantly jumped onto Zhu Zhuqing's bed, and the three of them started messing around. From time to time, there would be laughter in the room. You're so big, and I'll give you a massage. Chapter 162. By the time Lin Feng returned to the Shrek Academy, there were only 10 days left before they would arrive at the Heaven Do Imperial Academy. Lin Feng had been grinding for experience in the Star Do Great Forest for the past month. Among them, the one he farmed the most was Ming. That's right, Lin Feng went straight to Daming and Ming to ask them about the distribution of soul beasts in the area, especially the 100,000-year soul beasts. Because of his relationship with Xiao Wu, Lin Feng got along quite well with the two soul beasts. At the very least, they could be considered friends. After Lin Feng promised not to kill soul beasts, Daming told him about the distribution of soul beasts in the area. As for the 10,000-year soul beasts, they said that they hadn't encountered one yet. Furthermore, Daming said that the Stardo Great Forest was too big. It was so big that the two of them could only be considered to be in the periphery. There might be even stronger soul beasts in the deeper parts of the forest. In the deeper parts of the forest, Lin Feng also felt a strong sense of danger. As an extremely stable soul master, Lin Feng didn't want curiosity to kill the cat. His understanding of the plot was limited to the first part of Douluo's continent. Lin Feng heard that there were 2, 3, and 4 more parts, but it was a pity that he hadn't seen them yet. Since there were million-year soul beasts in the ocean, could there be any in the Star Do Great Forest? Out of safety considerations, Lin Feng didn't have any thoughts of investigating. If he wanted to go in, he would have to be at least a demigod. During this period, Lin Feng found different soul beasts to spar with and grind for experience. It was a pity that Lin Feng always wanted to spar with Daming to grind for experience, but this fellow didn't like fighting and always stayed in the water. Lin Feng didn't insist on fighting, so he could only grab the 70,000-year soul beasts to grind for experience. In particular, this Ming was a true battle maniac, and he was one of his main sources of experience points. Although it hadn't reached the 100,000-year level yet, it was progressing very quickly. In a few more years, it would reach the 100,000-year level. His EXP gain was the highest in the first few days. He could earn a few million EXP every day. However, as time passed, his EXP gain slowly decreased. In addition to the rest and training, in the end, after nearly 2 months, he had earned about 1 million EXP per day on average. In total, he had only earned about 50 million EXP. Lin Feng used more than 20 million to upgrade the soul bone to a 100,000-year soul bone, giving it a new skill, wind concealment. The effect of wind concealment was very simple. The user would directly transform into a gust of wind and disappear without a trace. Not only could it be used to escape, but it could also be used to neutralize attacks. How many types of attacks could cause a stroke? There were probably only a few of them in the entire continent. That was why the skill was almost invincible. The effect lasted for 10 minutes. As for the cooldown time, it was about the same as the first soul skill, Hasa, which was 1 hour. Furthermore, after the soul bone was upgraded to a 100,000-year soul bone, the amplification effect increased by a small amount. Although it wasn't as powerful as the 100,000-year soul ring, it was still quite significant. In addition, Lin Feng also spent 7 million EXP to upgrade his soul power from rank 73 to rank 80. As for the soul ring, Lin Feng didn't find a suitable one. He also promised Daming that he wouldn't kill soul beasts in the Star Do Great Forest. In the end, Lin Feng directly returned to Heaven Do City to find a suitable soul beast in the Setting Sun Forest. Since he had a lot of experience points now, Lin Feng wasn't in a hurry to use them. When the time came, he would kill an 80,000-year soul beast and absorb its soul ring. Then, he would be able to break through to a 100,000-year soul ring. If he could find another soul bone, he might not have enough EXP. However, it didn't matter. He just had to find another place to farm for a while, and he would have more. Name: Lin Feng Martial Soul, 1,000 Trickster Ruler, Immeasurable Flower Soul Power. Rank 80,000 Trickster Ruler Soul Ring. None Immeasurable Flower Soul Ring. Snow Lotus, 999 years. Plus, Soul Skill. Life Bloom Ghost Head Stalking Spider, 10,000 years. Plus, Soul Skill. Shadow Bind Armored Bear, 10,000 years. Plus, Soul Skill. Armored Devil Bear Transformation Fireweaver Monkey, 14,154 years. Plus, Soul Skill. Flame Wreath Nether Civet, 34,952 years. Plus, Soul Skill. Nether Force Lightning Falcon, 38,461 years. Plus, Soul Skill. Lightning Wings Wind Dragon, 100 million years. Plus, Soul Skill. Martial Soul True Body Soul Bone. Wind Dragon Left Leg Bone, 100 million years. Plus, Soul Skill 1. Hasa Soul Skill 2. Wind Invisibility XP, 21079-5140 still had over 20 million EXP left. It seemed like a lot, but in reality, it was very little. It wasn't even enough to upgrade a 100,000-year soul ring. But speaking of which, he was still very satisfied with a 100,000-year soul ring. After all, a 100,000-year soul ring was very useful to him, and it was also a symbol of his status. Back in the day, Lin Feng had dreamed of becoming a 100,000-year soul ring with red soul rings. But now, it seemed that there was still a long way to go. It would take him at least a few years to reach that goal. After returning to Shrek Academy, Lin Feng learned about the cultivation of Shrek's 7 monsters. Tang San, Rank 34 Control System Soul Elder. Rank 38. Xiao Wu. Rank 32 Assault System Soul Elder. Rank 33. Ning Rongrong. Rank 28 Support System Soul Grandmaster. Zhu Zhuqing. Rank 29 Agility System Soul Grandmaster. Oscar. Rank 32 Food System Soul Elder. Dai Mubai. Rank 38 Assault System Soul Elder. Ma Hongjun. Rank 29 Assault System Soul Grandmaster. It had to be said that everyone was very diligent in their cultivation. In the 2 months of soul power cultivation, quite a few of them had leveled up. Although a large part of the reason was because of the soul power control that Lin Feng had taught them. If it weren't for their own efforts, they wouldn't have been able to level up so quickly. Today, because Lin Feng had returned, the school was a little lively, and everyone ate a good meal. At the same time, Tang San took out the Flying Divine Claw, as well as many hidden weapons, and gave everyone a few. This Flying Divine Claw has several uses. Besides being a weapon, the most important one is that it can allow people to fly. As he spoke, Tang San demonstrated to everyone what it meant to be on a swing. The claw bounced off the spring in the machine and flew over 10 meters, nailing itself to a large tree. Then, Tang San pressed a button, and the claw flew over. Afterward, he released the claw and jumped down, easily returning to everyone's side. Then, Tang San demonstrated to everyone the various uses of the Flying Divine Claw. It was very magical, causing everyone to cry out in surprise. With this thing, leaping onto roofs and vaulting over walls won't be a problem. Ma Hongjun sighed with emotion. Lin Feng also felt that it was rather interesting. This thing was very convenient, just like the rope in Justified Defense 4. Lin Feng took one and looked at it carefully. He had a rough understanding of the structure inside. It had to be said that the Tang Sect's mechanism technology was really amazing. They were even able to create such a complicated mechanism. Lin Feng was quite impressed. Chapter 163. Grandmaster Qin and Qin Ming had agreed to meet in 2 months, and there was only a week left. It was just the right amount of time. On this morning, the teachers and students of the Shrek Academy stood in front of the gate. After a long while, Flanders sighed. 20 years of hard work. Zhao Wuji put an arm around Flanders' shoulder. It's not like I'm never coming back. I'll come back with you. What do you know? Flinder glared at him. Forget it. Let's not talk about it. Let's go. Just like that, the group from the Shrek Academy set off for Heavendo City. Heavendo Imperial City was located in the northeast of the Heavendo Empire. It was the heart of the empire and one of the 2 largest cities on the continent. The other was the capital city of the star, Luo Empire. Even though the 2 empires had lost control over the kingdoms and duchies under their control, their foundations were still very powerful. There were 3 major military districts near Heavendo City, each with over 1 million soldiers. This was an extremely powerful force. This was the reason why the Martial Spirit Hall didn't dare to start a war, no matter how powerful they were. The strength of an army couldn't be underestimated. Title Blah was powerful, but he would run out of energy sooner or later. It was only a matter of time before he was overwhelmed. As such, relatively speaking, a title Douluo with area of effect abilities, especially someone like the Poison Douluo, was like a nuclear weapon in a war. Furthermore, there was another very important point. There wasn't just one voice in the Martial Soul Hall right now. There were factions within, and there might be more than 2. Furthermore, not all of the titled Douluo were commoners. Some of them were closely related to the aristocrats. Anyway, it was very complicated. Besides, the Martial Spirit Hall wanted to unify the continent. They couldn't slaughter commoners and soldiers. They wanted to kill the soul masters who resisted. These were the main reasons why Martial Spirit Palace didn't start a war, no matter how powerful they were. Bibi Dong was setting up a huge trap. Speaking of which, Lin Feng didn't quite understand why the Heavendo Empire had 1 million soldiers near Heavendo City. How much food and money would it take to raise an army of 1 million soldiers? And all of them were stationed near Heavendo City? Wasn't this a little too fake? Even if food was provided by a food-type soul cultivator, a soul exalt could take care of 20 people at most. A soul sage could take care of over 1,000 people, but there were only a handful of them in the entire continent. Therefore, to take an average, the army was managed by a food-type soul ancestor. One soul ancestor was in charge of 50 people. If that was the case, an army of 1,000,000 soldiers would need at least 20,000 food-type soul ancestors to provide them with food. Furthermore, those soul ancestors wouldn't be able to provide food all day long since they still needed to cultivate, and so on. Even if the Empire were to pay for half of the food, they'd still need at least 10,000 food-type soul ancestors. Wasn't this a little too ridiculous? Disregarding the fact that there weren't that many food-type soul masters, there was no way the Heaven Do Empire could support such a large army. Furthermore, the Grand Master had personally said that according to his understanding, there were only a few 100,000 soul masters on the entire continent. What kind of understanding was this? Wasn't this a little too careless? In the original work, 1 out of 10 people in Massacre City would survive every battle. Even if not all of them were soul masters, at least half of them would be. How many battles would there be in a day? It was estimated that tens of thousands of soul masters would die in a year. Disregarding this special location, just Soto City alone, they'd seen at least 5,000 soul masters in a month. And this was only what Lin Feng had seen in the soul dueling arena. Soto City was huge, and if the entire city was counted, there would be close to 10,000 soul masters. On the entire continent, although there weren't many cities like Soto City, there were still more than 10 of them. Lin Feng's own conservative estimate was that there were about 1,000,000 soul masters on the entire continent. If he included the soul masters in the sea, there would be even more. But the Grand Master actually said that there were only a few 100,000 soul masters, and there were even 1,000,000 soldiers near Heaven Do City. For a moment, Lin Feng didn't have much hope in this world when it came to statistics. It was too fake. Little monster, I'm going to speed up now. All of you, keep up with my speed. When they reached the main road, Flanders laughed, grabbed the Grandmaster, and ran. Zhao Wuji sighed helplessly. Let's hurry up. This way, we can spend less on accommodation and food. Old Fu is such a miser. I didn't expect him to become so generous so quickly. With that, Zhao Wuji grabbed Soul Sage, Xiao Xian, and sped up. As for the other 2 teachers, they had already caught up. In the end, Tang San and the rest seemed to have expected this. They looked at each other and started running as well. After such a long period of training, running and hurrying wasn't a problem at all. Even though Flanders was running very fast, the 7 of them still followed him. It was only when they reached the end that Ning Rongrong and Oscar started to feel a little tired. In order to not slow down, they needed someone to carry them. Oscar looked for Dai Mu Bai. Ning Rongrong looked at Lin Feng, and then looked for Xiao Wu. This scene was seen by Flender, who was in front. These guys are stronger than I thought. We've been running for almost half a day, but not a single one of them is tired. Isn't that so? Look at who taught them well. The Grand Master was carried by Flanders with a carefree expression. No matter how strong they are, they're still just soul elders. They still need a long time to grow. Flanders was a little envious of Tang San and the rest's youth. That's why this is an opportunity. The Continental Elite Soul Master Academy Tournament, in half a year's time, will be a period of transformation for them. When the tournament is over, they'll definitely improve greatly. The Grand Master suddenly laughed. I think they might even enter Soul Douluo earlier than you. Bullsh *T. I'm already ranked 78. If I enter Soul Douluo later than them, will I put my old face? Besides, I'm faster than them now. I can run so fast while carrying someone, but can they do it? Flanders' beard curled up as he was a little proud. Right at this moment, Lin Feng, who was standing behind them, laughed. Rong, throw a martial soul fusion skill at us to liven things up. Hearing this, everyone's eyes lit up. Ning Rong came over with a happy face. Fengge, hurry up. Everyone's a little tired from running. Let's speed them up. Lin Feng didn't say anything and directly placed his hand on Ning Rongrong's shoulder. In the next second, under the surge of soul power, Ning Rongrong flew into the air like Zhu Zhuqing in the soul dueling arena. The imprint of the immeasurable flower appeared on her forehead. Behind her, a 7-colored pagoda appeared. It was 5 meters tall and looked very gorgeous. Accept Wonder Woman's gift. Ning Rongrong laughed. As she spoke, the 7-colored light on the pagoda spewed out and flew towards everyone. In an instant, everyone's physical strength, soul power, and everything else were restored. They were in peak condition. Not only that, their speed and strength had more than doubled from before. Under the illumination of the 7-colored light, the group was like a sports car with nitrogen gas. In a few seconds, they overtook Zhao Wuji and Flanders. At this moment, Flanders was bragging to the Grandmaster that this group of guys couldn't catch up to them. Swoosh! Seeing the group of people rushing past him, Flanders stood in place for a moment. Not only him, Zhao Wuji and the others behind him were also stunned. That group of people just now was Tang San and the others? That pagoda phantom was Xiao Feng and Rongrong's martial soul fusion skill. I didn't expect it to be so powerful. I really didn't expect it. After the shock, the Grandmaster quickly teased. Yo, who said that he ran faster than the children just now? Flanders. Then, Flanders put the Grandmaster on the ground. Run by yourself. After saying that, Flanders left directly. Grandmaster. Zhao Wuji. Chapter 164. Lin Feng and Ning Rongrong's fusion skill was very mystical. Not only did it contain the basic effects of Lin Feng's immeasurable flower, it also fused the effects of Ning Rongrong's soul skills together and strengthened them by several times. This rainbow light was Ning Rongrong's fusion skill. It could restore one's physical strength and soul power, heal injuries, and even double one's strength and speed. Other than that, Lin Feng also discovered that no matter who he used the fusion skill with, that person would be able to fly, and the imprint of the immeasurable flower would appear on their forehead. As for the names of these fusion skills, Lin Feng was very casual. After fusing with Zhu Zhuqing's fusion skill, a large rainbow cat similar to a substitute would appear. Its attack power was extremely strong, so Lin Feng named it the Rainbow Spirit Cat. Ning Rongrong's fusion skill was called the Rainbow Pagoda. The fusion skill with Tang San's fusion skill had a very special effect. The blue-silver grass could spray a poisonous fog within 100 meters. The poisonous fog was very strong, and even Soul Kings couldn't last long. Most importantly, the poisonous fog could distinguish between friend and foe. As long as it left an imprint on one's teammates, the poisonous fog wouldn't harm them. Other than that, the blue-silver grass had become even more tenacious and powerful. Even a Soul Emperor would find it difficult to cut it open. Lin Feng named this fusion skill the Rainbow Silvergrass. Xiao Wu, Dai Mu Bai, and Ma Hongjuan's fusion skills were very similar to Zhu Zhuqing's. They were called the Rainbow White Rabbit, the Rainbow White Tiger, and the Rainbow Firebird respectively. Oscar's martial soul fusion skill was similar to Ning Rongrong's, which allowed him to create rainbow-colored barbecued sausages. Not to mention its basic abilities, it had healing, recovery, detoxification, and so on. The most important ability was flight. After eating the roasted sausage, everyone could fly for half an hour without the use of wings. Furthermore, their speed was extremely fast, and even Soul Kings couldn't catch up. Lin Shen named this soul skill the Rainbow Roasted Sausage. The 7 of them didn't like these sloppy names, especially Ma Hongjun. Firebird, how unpleasant to hear. This was called a phoenix, a 7-colored phoenix. However, after being hit on the head by Lin Feng a few times, he didn't mention it anymore. So what if it was a rainbow bird? As long as it was strong, everything would be fine. The feeling of controlling everything was too amazing. At this moment, the group was rushing. When the sky darkened, they had already left the Balak Kingdom and entered the Kingdom of Sylvis. Naturally, Lin Feng didn't let Ning Rongrong fly in the sky all the time. After Tang San's bodies is recovered, they recovered their stamina and ran for the rest of the day. After they reached Sylvis, Flinder led them to a small town to rest. This place was the spirit, the divine, and the Flanders and the Grandmaster had agreed that the children hadn't fought for a long time. Tomorrow, they would go to the capital and have a good meal. At the same time, they would participate in a team soul battle. They had never heard of Shrek's 7 monsters in the soul battle arena here. In addition, they were the Golden Battle Soul Battle team, so the bets were definitely not small. When the time came, they could make a fortune. The town wasn't big, so the group found a random hotel to stay in. After a night's rest, they immediately set off for Silvis. When they arrived at the city gates, everyone was curious. "Dean, aren't we in a hurry? It's only noon. How are we going to enter the city?" "What's the hurry? We'll be there in 3 days at most. There's plenty of time." Flanders smiled. "I see that you haven't had a soul battle for 2 months. After we eat and drink, I'll let you fight and stretch your limbs." When they went to the Heaven-Do Imperial Academy, Tang San and the others might be tested there. Therefore, warming up now was a good choice. When they heard that they were going to have a soul battle, they weren't afraid at all. Instead, they were all eager to give it a try. The dean was right. After not fighting for so long, they were a little itchy. Soon, Flanders led everyone to a luxurious hotel. "Dean, you brought us to eat so well. Don't tell me we have to hand over the gold coins later?" Ma Hongjun asked warily. When the Golden Battle Soul Battle team appeared, they would definitely have a soul battle in the main arena. As long as they won, the appearance fee would be very high. Ma Hongjun was thinking of going to Heaven-Do City to find beautiful girls in the Imperial City. He heard that the girls in the Imperial City were all very beautiful, and there were even more high-class clubs. He was looking forward to it. "Don't worry, of course the money is yours." Flanders smiled and said, "Yesterday, we were on the road all day, and everyone has worked hard. Today, I'll treat you all to a good meal. But I'll say this first, everyone can only drink 1 glass of wine at most, especially a fatty like you. Don't drink too much, or I'll beat you to death." This small amount of money was nothing. When the time came, he would bet all his money on Xiao San and the others to win. At the very least, he would make a profit. Dai Mubai knew Flanders the best. At this moment, he hurriedly said, "Everyone, don't believe him. Every time the dean smiles, it's definitely not a good thing." This sentence caused everyone to burst into laughter. After eating and drinking to their fill, the Grandmaster and Flanders led everyone to the Soul Battle Arena. At the same time, in Heaven-Do City. Recently, Xueqinghe had investigated the entire Heaven-Do City. He had sent people from the Martial Spirit Hall to secretly investigate all the nobles and even the Imperial family. In the end, he discovered that there was no news about Thanos. It seemed that what he was worried about didn't happen. However, he quickly discovered something. One of his subordinates, the Soul Sage with a special martial soul, had disappeared. For there to be no news for so long, it meant that he was dead. Furthermore, he was killed while investigating Black Tiger Ah Fu. It seemed that Black Tiger Ah Fu was protected by an expert. To be able to kill a Soul Sage, it had to be the powerful Soul Douluo. For safety reasons, the clues in Soto City were more or less cut off. However, Xueqinghe received a new piece of news from the Heaven-Do Imperial Academy. Shrek Academy would send students and teachers over to join the Heaven-Do Imperial Academy. Among them, Teacher Qi Ming was the main instigator of this matter. Combining this information with the information from the Soul Sage in Soto City, Xueqinghe guessed that this group of people should be related to Black Tiger Ah Fu. In fact, Black Tiger Ah Fu might even be among them. Thinking about this, he immediately ordered his subordinates to wait near the Heaven-Do Imperial Academy. If any strangers came over, they were to report to him immediately. Lin Feng and the others didn't know about this. At this moment, they just happened to be at the Silvis Great Soul Battle Arena. After asking the staff, they found that there were no soul elders at the Gold Soul level here. They couldn't battle souls. Unless you want to fight above your level, then you can challenge the Soul Ancestor level Silver Soul Battle team. Chapter 165. Fighting above their ranks? Let's just forget about it. Flinder shook his head firmly. Although Shrek's 7 monsters were strong and could even fight against Soul Ancestors, they weren't Soul Ancestors. Some of them weren't even Soul Elders. If they were to fight against a Soul Ancestor, it would be too dangerous. Although people would show mercy unless it was a life and death battle in the soul dueling arena, a battle between soul ancestors was already very intense. How could it be so easy to stop? Deaths and injuries were too common. Therefore, Flanders wouldn't let the children take the risk at this time. I think it's fine. Grandmaster suddenly spoke, his tone as stiff as ever. Flanders frowned. Little gang, are you sending the children to their deaths? Although they are strong, 3 of them haven't even reached rank 30. With such a big gap, soul ancestors will be finished if they can't hold back. Don't worry, I won't let the children be in danger. Grandmaster smiled. You should know that there are many differences between soul dueling teams above rank 40. Some teams are especially murderous, and Xiao San's team has their own unique hidden weapons, so Flanders was shocked. You want them to? That's right. The children should exercise. Before Flanders could finish speaking, Grandmaster asked the staff at the side, we can choose our opponents for this battle, right? The staff quickly smiled and nodded. Of course, and we can guarantee that this battle will be carried out in the main soul dueling arena. A battle between a rank and a team at that was something that rarely happened in history. It attracted the audience like never before. As long as the news was released, the soul dueling arena would make a lot of money in this battle. Then help me find the fiercest level 40 party. They have to kill people in every match. The more they kill, the better. Grandmaster said calmly. The staff was stunned. Is there a problem? Grandmaster glanced at him. No, please wait a moment. The staff immediately began to search. At the same time, Tang San and the others were some distance away from Grandmaster and Flanders. In addition, the two were speaking mysteriously, so no one knew what they were up to. Ning Rongrong was smart. She went directly to Lin Feng and asked, Feng Gu, what are Grandmaster and Dean talking about? It feels so mysterious. It's nothing. I just want you guys to kill someone to train your courage, Lin Feng said calmly, as if killing someone was a normal thing for him. Kill. Ning Rongrong was shocked. Hearing this voice, other than Tang San, the others also had faces of astonishment. They were suddenly ordered to kill someone. On the other hand, Zhao Wuji, who was at the side, said, the world of soul masters isn't as beautiful as you think it is. You have to pass through this hurdle sooner or later. Master is quite considerate of you to let you experience this so early. This way, you won't suffer when you grow up. Even with Zhao Wuji's comfort, everyone still couldn't calm down. They were a little resistant to the soul fighting competition later. At this moment, the staff found the soul fighting team that Grandmaster wanted. Demon fighting team, rank 40 silver soul fighting team. After they entered the silver soul fighting team, they had a total of 46 battles and 131. In total, he had killed 63 soul cultivators and wounded 98 soul cultivators. As their fighting style is too brutal, almost no other rank 40 silver soul fighting team wants to meet them. They meet your requirements very well. Grandmaster nodded with satisfaction and took out the golden soul fighting team badge of Shrek's 7 monsters. Okay, we will challenge this demon fighting team. This is the badge of Shrek's 7 monsters. The 7 of us can start the soul fighting team anytime. Flanders was actually a little worried at this moment. However, looking at Grandmaster's determined eyes, he didn't say anything. Okay, we have registered here. You can go to the resting room of the main soul fighting arena to rest. The soul fighting team will start in 3 hours. The staff returned the badge to Grandmaster respectfully. Grandmaster, are we really going to kill them? Tang Sin asked when Grandmaster came over. The other 6 people were nervous. They looked at Grandmaster and couldn't say a word. You will have to experience this sooner or later. It's better to do it sooner rather than later. Grandmaster tried to sound gentle. Remember, you're facing the rank 40 demon fighting team. Everyone in their team has killed before. Don't show mercy and don't hold back. Also, the demon fighting team is not a weak team. The 7 soul ancestors are all high level. You are definitely not their match. When the time comes, take out the Zhuge repeating crossbow that Xiao San made for you and shoot them. Don't try to fight them head on. Grandmaster is right. You just have to shoot them and be done with it. Lin Feng emphasized again. He didn't want these guys to be a little arrogant because they were too strong and wanted to do it themselves. That would be bad. Fengge, why aren't you nervous at all? Oscar asked nervously. The best way to ease tension was to pass on the tension. This way, people would feel better. However, Lin Feng spread his hands and said helplessly, I don't have to fight. Why should I be nervous? This time, Oscar was even more nervous. Grandmaster smiled and said, Xiao Feng is different from you guys. He has a very stable mentality. He doesn't need to go through this. Actually, Grandmaster could tell that Lin Feng had killed before. That kind of calm gaze was completely different from Tang San and the rest. However, it was as if everyone had secrets. He was a man who had been in a relationship with the Pope. Who would know such a secret? Okay, don't look at me. Go in and rest. Seeing that everyone was looking at him, Lin Feng hurriedly rushed them into the depths of the Great Soul Arena. The style of the Great Soul Arena in Silva City was completely different from that in Soto City. Perhaps because it was located inland, it was more gorgeous here. It didn't have the austere atmosphere of Soto City. The lounge of the Great Soul Arena was very large. It was more than 100 square meters. There were also maids serving inside. However, after they came in, these people were directly driven out by Grandmaster. The main reason was that these maids were dressed too revealing. When they walked out, they attracted everyone's attention. The girls blushed and were a little shy. Suddenly, Tang Sin sucked in a breath of cold air. He saw that Xiao Wu's hand was pinching his flesh and giving him a 180-degree hardcore massage. Does it look good? Xiao Wu asked with a smile. Tang Sin didn't have the slightest desire to live. He pointed at Lin Feng next to him and said, Fengge saw it too. Why don't you pinch him? Xiao Wu frowned and suddenly increased the strength of her massage. It was now 360 degrees. Chapter 166. According to the Grandmaster, they were about to go on stage and kill. During the break, everyone was very nervous. They joked around to relieve their tension, and the lounge was filled with laughter. As the time approached, the laughter and cheers became much softer. Xiao Wu was accompanied by Xiao Ying, so she felt all right. However, the other two girls weren't in such a good mood. Zhu Zhuqing sat in the corner of the sofa and looked at his palms without saying a word. Ning Rongrong summoned her 7 treasures glazed pagoda and counted floor by floor. It was as if she had to count the 8th floor today. The others also had different expressions. The Grandmaster and the other teachers seemed to want them to pass this test by themselves. After entering the lounge, they purposely distanced themselves from Lin Feng and the others. Seeing this, Lin Feng said casually, What do you all look like? If I didn't know better, I would think that you're going to the execution ground. Your mission later is very simple. Everyone just needs to grab a Zhuge Divine Crossbow and pull the trigger. Those guys are all bloody executioners. Don't feel pressured. Xiao San, take out the Zhuge Divine Crossbow and test its power. Lin Feng said to Tang San. Tang San was startled, but he still took out the Zhuge Divine Crossbow from the Full Moon's Night Bridge. Fengge, there's no target here. How do we test it? Also, didn't we test its power before? Tang Sin had demonstrated the Zhuge Divine Crossbow to everyone a long time ago. Later on, under the Grandmaster's suggestion, they gave one to each support-type Soul Master. Later on, it was even given to the entire team. As for the power of this thing, the Grandmaster had given an evaluation. If it was fired alone, it could injure a Soul Ancestor if they were lucky. It wouldn't be a threat to a Soul King at all. However, this thing could be fired consecutively. Its power was outrageous. A Soul Ancestor wouldn't be able to withstand it. Even a Soul King would be seriously injured or even killed if they weren't a defense-type Soul Master. Moreover, these crossbow bolts were all ordinary Vajra crossbows. If they were forged with special materials and added soul force to them, then they might even be able to kill a Soul Emperor. When they were facing the 3 swordsmen in Soto City, the reason why they didn't panic at all was partly because of Lin Feng and partly because of the hidden weapons. I did pass the test, but aren't you guys fine now? I'll find something for you guys to do. As for the target, Fatty, you stand over there. As he spoke, Lin Feng waved his hand, and a streak of white light flew out. His third soul skill, the iron-armored demonic bear, had been used on Ma Hongjun. Ah! Ma Hongjun stared blankly. No way, Fengge. You want such a handsome guy like me to be a target? What are you afraid of? It's not like you don't know the defensive power of my soul skill. It can even block a Soul King's attack. This little Zhuge repeating crossbow is nothing, Lin Feng said calmly. Oscar, who was at the side, laughed. If Fengge wants to go, then go. Why are you spouting so much nonsense? Little Ao, you go too. As he spoke, Lin Feng sent out another streak of white light. Oscar also started to shine like Ma Hongjun. The smile on Oscar's face stopped abruptly. No way, Fengge. I'm only an auxiliary-type soul master. Cut the crap. Lin Feng kicked this guy's butt and kicked him directly to Ma Hongjun. The latter laughed and grabbed Oscar. He stood on the spot and suddenly didn't feel afraid anymore. Fengge, can you change to someone else? Oscar asked weakly. Lin Feng laughed. A big shot once said that the best way to defeat fear is to face it. Little Ao, you have to believe in yourself. After saying that, he ignored him and asked Tang San, Xiao San, do you have enough crossbow arrows? Fengge, I have enough. Furthermore, these crossbow arrows can be recycled. Tang San hesitated, but are we really going to use them as targets? It wasn't that he didn't believe in the defensive power of Lin Feng's soul skill, but this feeling of shooting at teammates was a little strange. What do you mean by using them as targets? This is training. Everyone will have to go up and get beaten later. Now, Rong Rong and Take Shi, come over. The two of you each take a Zhuge Divine crossbow and shoot at them now. The defensive power of this soul skill was still very strong. Although Lin Feng didn't release it with his full strength, it wasn't a problem to block the full strength attack of a soul sage. Even if Zhuge Shenu attacked with his full strength, he wouldn't be able to hurt the people inside. Ning Rongrong and Zhu Zhuqing were stunned when their names were called, but they still walked over. Since Lin Feng said that it was training, the two of them became serious. Sisters, shoot gently. Ma Hongjun was in a good mood after catching Oscar and didn't forget to be mischievous. As soon as he said that, Zhu Zhuqing raised his Zhuge repeating crossbow and shot at Ma Hongjun from head to toe, not letting go of a single spot. At the side, Ning Rongrong, who was still a little hesitant, didn't hold back when she saw this and also shot at Oscar. We're going to die. We're going to die. The two of them shouted and subconsciously dodged. However, the speed of the Zhuge repeating crossbow was too fast, and the firing speed was also very fast. There was no way to dodge. Ding, ding, ding. Lin Feng's soul skill was very strong, and a total of nearly 100 crossbow arrows were shot out. Although Oscar and Ma Hongjun were scared half to death, they weren't hurt at all. Ha ha! After 3 rounds of arrow rain, the two of them laughed out loud, feeling as if they had survived a disaster. The Zhuge Divine crossbow made by Tang San was very powerful. Each one was loaded with 48 crossbow arrows, and 16 could be shot at once. It could be used 3 times in total, and after that, it would have to be reloaded. Therefore, Zhu Zhuqing and Ning Rongrong had shot a total of 3 times just now. It was like a storm, and the momentum was very shocking. But now they had to pick up the crossbow arrows themselves and reload them. At this moment, Lin Feng said, Xiao San and Mu Bai, go up and stand. Ma Hongjun and Oscar, prepare to shoot. After this round, Rongrong, Take Shi, and Xiao Wu will go up. Xiao San and Mu Bai will shoot. Hearing this arrangement, Xiao Wu quickly asked, Fengge, that won't do. When I have no chance and can only be beaten up, I want to shoot the 3 of them. Okay. Now, you will follow them and shoot Xiao San. In an instant, the originally tense atmosphere became relaxed. Just like that, about half an hour passed. Everyone experienced a round of crossbow baptism and relaxed. They even had the mood to laugh at Oscar, who was the most afraid just now. It was just that reloading the Zhuge repeating crossbow was a bit strenuous. Not far away, the master and Flanders clicked their tongues in wonder. I don't know what Xiao Feng is thinking. Originally, everyone was very nervous, but now it's a lot better. Flanders sighed. The master wasn't surprised and said indifferently, This kid can always come up with new tricks. I'm almost used to it. Chapter 167. 30 minutes before the start of the match, Flanders and Grandmaster walked to the betting area together. Seeing this, Lin Feng also followed. Almost no one thought that Shrek's 7 monsters would be able to win against someone of a higher rank than them. Not to mention that they were challenging the fiercest rank 40 Demon God team in the Silver Soul arena. At the betting area, the odds for Demon God Battle Team were only about 1, while Shrek 7 Monsters odds were almost 110. The betting area was divided into 2 sides. One side was for Shrek's 7 Monsters, and there were almost no people there. The other side was for Demon God Battle Team, and there was a very long line. Everyone squeezed forward as if they would not earn money if they were slow. Bet on Shrek Academy winning 50,000 gold coins. Flanders grabbed a card and handed it over. Of course, this 50,000 gold coins were not his alone. Nearly 40,000 of them were from Tang San and the others, and the remaining 10,000 were from Grandmaster, Flanders, and several other teachers. Among them, Xiao Wu bet the most, with 30,000 gold coins. After all, she was a little housekeeper, and she was also in charge of Tang San's money. The two of them added up to 30,000 gold coins. Are you sure? The staff member was stunned for a second. Although the Silver Soul Arena was the largest soul arena in the entire kingdom and was also the richest place, a one-time bet of 50,000 gold coins was still very rare. Hurry up, use the card. Flanders' expression did not change, and he took out several gold coin storage cards and swiped them. Gold coin storage cards were similar to bank cards, and they were also controlled by several big families. They could be used to withdraw money from all the big banks on the continent. This time, the Silver Soul Arena opened a lot of bets. There were nearly 1 million bets now, and there was a high chance that it would reach 2 million before the closing time. Although 50,000 gold coins was a big bet, it did not immediately pull down the odds. At this time, Grandmaster also noticed Lin Feng behind him. Xiao Feng, you're here to bet too? Yeah, I want to earn some money. Lin Feng smiled faintly. As he spoke, Lin Feng placed his esteemed black card in front of the employee. 200,000, Shrek's 7 monsters win. It was a very calm sentence, but the staff member was stunned. His outstretched hand froze in midair. At the side, Flanders was holding the betting voucher with a delighted expression, imagining the scene of him earning hundreds of thousands of dollars later. Hearing this, he was instantly stunned. The master was even more enraged. If he bet 200,000, according to the increasing rate of the odds, even if it dropped in the end, he would at least get 4 or 5 times the profit. Nearly 1 million gold coins, and you say that this is a small amount. Maybe you have some misunderstanding about Xiao Qian. And, looking at the staff member's hand, Lin Feng frowned slightly. Please wait a moment. The staff member immediately revealed an apologetic smile and helped Lin Feng complete the bet. Not long after, the odds changed drastically. Shrek's 7 monsters odds were only slightly more than 2 times, while the Demon God Battle Team's odds were 1. For times, they were almost guaranteed to win. A 40% profit made everyone go crazy. The bets of the Demon God Battle Team increased rapidly. If this continued, at the last moment, Shrek's 7 monsters odds would increase to about 5 times. Xiao Feng is 200,000. You're really amazing. Grandmaster held back for a long time and said this sentence. Flanders' eyes lit up. Xiao Feng, why do you have so much money? It's not good for a kid to bet so much money. Do you want the courtyard to help you save it? Dean, don't use tricks to trick kids on me. It's not very effective. Lin Feng chuckled. Under the jealous gazes of the other teachers, he walked towards the resting room. One outstanding latecomer. Flanders sighed. Looking at the 50,000 bets in his hand, he suddenly felt that it wasn't that great. Grandmaster and the others looked at each other helplessly, then followed him. Time passed slowly. The competition with the Demon God Battle Team was about to begin. Under the guidance of the staff, Shrek's 7 monsters, who had put on their masks again, left the resting room and walked towards the main Soul Battle Arena. The host of this Soul Battle Arena wasn't a beauty like Douluo, but a handsome guy who was only 1/10 as handsome as Lin Feng. Although he was only 1/10 as handsome as Lin Feng, When he introduced the two teams to the VIPs in the arena, he still looked extraordinarily handsome. Generally speaking, during a team soul battle, these teams would form a formation that was very compatible with the written challenge. It was very rare for teams to form a straight line. But today, the people in the VIP room realized that both teams were actually in a straight line, forming a tight formation. This was very strange, but at the same time, it was very interesting. Everyone, get ready. You have 1 minute to release your martial soul. When I shout start, you can then attack. The host's voice spread throughout the arena. After he finished speaking, the 7 members of the Demon God Battle team all performed martial soul possession. A fierce aura spread out. Tear them apart. Kill them. The audience hidden in the VIP room started to cheer enthusiastically, which was transmitted into the arena through a special loudspeaker. Those who liked to watch the Demon God Battle team's matches were very fanatical. They loved bloodshed and violence. Unlike the ferocious aura of the Demon God Battle team, Shrek's 7 monsters were very calm. None of them released their martial souls. They just stood there without making a sound. The host was very surprised, but he didn't say much. He quickly flew into the air and shouted at the same time. Shrek's 7 monsters, challenging the Demon God Battle team. I now announce that the soul battle between both teams has begun. A bunch of masked rats. Let us tear them apart. Meng Li, the leader of the Demon God Battle team, shouted. He led his team members and charged ferociously towards Shrek's 7 monsters. There were too few soul battle teams who had embarrassed themselves at the beginning of the battle. Furthermore, they were facing Shrek's 7 monsters, who were weaker than them. The Demon God Battle team was full of contempt. The audience thought the same. They felt that Shrek's 7 monsters were overestimating themselves. It was as if they could already see the Demon God Battle team's victory. Right at this moment, Tang San shouted, "Now!" The so-called hidden weapon was all about the word hidden, and it was the element of surprise. At this moment, Shrek's 7 monsters waited for their opponents to get closer before they took out their Zhuge repeating crossbows and pulled the triggers. There were a total of 7 crossbows. More than 100 crossbow bolts flashed with a cold light. They pierced through the air like a swarm of bees and collided with the Demon God Battle team. Poof, 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 poof. Blossoms of blood blossomed in the soul dueling arena. The audience, who were shouting crazily, seemed to have been pressed on the mute button. The entire arena was dead silent. Blood red was the only color in the Great Soul Arena now. That bloody scene stunned Shrek's 7 monsters, who were about to pull the triggers for the second round of crossbows. Their fingers seemed to have been cursed. They couldn't pull the trigger no matter how hard they tried. Only Tang San remained calm. He fired another round of crossbow bolts at Meng Li, who was the luckiest. At this point, the entire arena was dead silent. There wasn't a single sound. Suddenly, ding, 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 dense explosive sounds could be heard. It turned out that these crossbow bolts had penetrated the bodies of the Demon God Battle team members and nailed them to the walls of the Great Soul Arena without losing any momentum. This was like a signal. Cheers suddenly sounded in the arena. As for Tang San's 7 monsters, they were still in a daze at this moment. Although they were mentally prepared before entering the Great Soul Arena, this bloody scene still shocked them greatly. Especially just now, there was an agility-type soul master who ran faster. Even though his body was penetrated by the crossbow bolts, he still flew more than 10 meters away due to inertia and slid to a spot not far in front of everyone. This scene caused a huge psychological impact on everyone. The few girls didn't stay on the stage for long. They ran out while retching. Following them, Oscar and Ma Hongjun also ran out. When the host announced the results of the competition, only Tang San and Dai Mubai still dared to stand in the arena. In the resting room, Master and the others had already run to the entrance of the Great Soul Arena. Lin Feng, on the other hand, was not in a hurry. He carried Xiao Ying and hung at the back. Chapter 168. When Lin Feng arrived in front of Tang San and the others, the 7 of them had already calmed down under the master's comfort. It was hard for them to accept killing someone for the first time, especially the huge physiological impact just now, which made them vomit. However, They had already prepared themselves mentally before this, so they didn't lose their composure too much at this time. Very good. You are all very strong. Your performance is better than I imagined. Lin Feng said, they're a group of people who deserve to die. You must not have any psychological burden, because that kind of burden is the most useless thing. Don't worry, Fengge. We are all very clear that those guys deserve to die. Ma Hongjun said with difficulty. Just now, except for Dai Mubai and Tang San, who were slightly better, the rest of them had vomited. At this time, there was a strange smell. It's good that you are clear. Now that the battle is over, everyone put on your masks and get ready to go out. Soon, a group of people followed out of the entrance. Everyone was speechless along the way. After walking for about 5 minutes, everyone came to the previous betting point. This was the place where the rewards were redeemed. The final payout for this soul battle was good. It was a little more than 6 times. After deducting the handling fee, it was almost 6 times. Flanders received 300,000 gold coins, and Lin Feng received 2 million. When they received the money, the staff members were all astonished. When Tang San and the others found out about the amount, they had almost the same expression. They were so surprised that they even forgot about the killing just now. As for the group of teachers, their eyes were full of jealousy. It was too sour, especially Flanders, who kept trying to get close to Lin Feng. If it weren't for his identity, he would have hugged his thigh. That's 2 million yuan. And among the 300,000 gold coins in his hand, there were less than 20,000 that really belonged to him. The rest of the money was from others. This was really a sad story. Fengge, that's a lot of money. You have to treat us today. I think the Histon Hotel we saw before is pretty good. Let's go there, Xiao Wu said immediately. The Histon Hotel was the most luxurious hotel in Silvis City. A meal for a dozen people would cost at least hundreds of gold coins. If the food was good enough, it could be 1,000. Ordinary soul cultivators simply couldn't afford to eat in such a place. Only high-level soul cultivators dared to eat there. However, that was nothing to Lin Feng at this moment. He waved his hand and said, let's go. I'll pay the bill today. Everyone, feel free to eat and drink. The next morning, everyone woke up early and continued their journey to Heavendo City. A soul master's physique was very strong. Although everyone had drunk themselves into a drunken stupor the night before, they were all full of energy this morning. Heavendo City wasn't far away from Silvis City, and even if they traveled at a slower pace, it would take them at most 4 days to get there. Thus, 3 days passed, and the group arrived near Heavendo City after making several stops along the way. Why isn't the Heavendo Imperial Academy on this map? Grandmaster, do you know? Flanders asked curiously as he clutched the map of Heavendo City. Generally speaking, the Martial Soul Hall and Soul Master Academy would be very eye-catching on a city's map. This was especially true for the Heavendo Imperial Academy. However, Flanders couldn't find the Heavendo Imperial Academy on this map. It's not on the map? Grandmaster asked. Didn't you do your homework? You can't even find the academy? What do you mean I didn't do my homework? Weren't you the one who talked to Qin Ming? Didn't you ask where the academy is? I only talked to him about the transfer of students. The Heavendo Imperial Academy is so famous. Who knows if it's on the map? You little bastard, back then for a moment, Flinder and the master were bickering like children. No one was surprised by this. The two of them had bickered many times on their way here. Everyone laughed at them in private, saying that they were even more childish than 12-year-old children. Dean, Grandmaster, stop bickering. I know where the academy is. Ning Rongrong suddenly spoke up. The Seven Treasures Glaze sect is on a mountain not far from Heavendo City. I used to come to Heavendo City often to play. The Heavendo Imperial Academy is so famous that a few of our branch families study there. Actually, the Heavendo Imperial Academy isn't in the city. Just like the Shrek Academy, it's located outside the city. Flanders smiled proudly when he heard this. Look, the dean of the Heavendo Imperial Academy actually has the same idea as me. This proves that my foresight is quite good. You? Foresight? Grandmaster didn't hold back. The reason why the Heavendo Imperial Academy is located outside the city is probably because they're afraid that the capital's luxurious environment will affect the students' cultivation. Most importantly, the academy is too big. It requires a lot of space to mimic the environment, and it also requires all kinds of perfect equipment. Heaven Do City probably won't be able to fit it all. And you? You're obviously poor. I remember that you looked at 3 plots of land in Soto City, but you rejected them all in the end. You could only buy a plot of land in a village outside the city. At this moment, Xiao Wu added, so the principal is actually so poor. I thought that the principal specially chose a place with a good environment outside the city. After all, buying a large piece of land in the city isn't expensive. It's only 100,000 gold coins. Flanders, in the past, Lin Feng was the only rich one. Now that everyone is rich, anyone can mock me for being poor. Soon, Ning Rongrong led the way, and everyone continued on their way. They weren't far from Heaven Do City. Roughly an hour later, Ning Rongrong led everyone to the Heaven Do Imperial Academy. Rongrong, don't lead the way. Are you sure this is an academy? Why does it look like a mountain to me? Ma Hongjun asked. Everyone had the same question. Although the mountain wasn't big, it wasn't small either. Furthermore, they couldn't see anything, so how could it be an academy? Fatty, what do you know? This entire mountain belongs to the Heaven Do Imperial Academy. The forest behind the mountain and the lake at the foot of the mountain are all part of the academy. It's huge. What? It's huge, everyone exclaimed. Lin Feng didn't think much of it. An advanced Soul Master Academy like this was equivalent to a university in his previous world. There were even universities that were much bigger than this. In some universities, it would take an hour to walk from the south gate to the north gate. Even if you took an electric scooter, it would take 10 minutes. Lin Feng was someone who had seen the world. Although the Heaven Do Imperial Academy was huge, it wasn't much. Chapter 169. The Heaven Do Imperial Academy was located halfway up the mountain. If they wanted to enter, they would have to go further up. Look at the environment. It's surrounded by mountains and rivers. Not to mention anything else, the effects of cultivating here are much better than in the village. After taking a few steps, the Grand Master sighed. Flanders wasn't convinced. So what if the environment is good? How many experts can it nurture? Our Shrek Academy might be small, but there are many monsters. Everyone had a competitive heart. When they met someone who did the same thing or had the same profession as them, they would subconsciously compare themselves to them. The Grand Master laughed. I'm actually very curious. Your place doesn't have any facilities or resources. I really don't know how you managed to swindle so many talented students. What do you mean by swindle? It's obviously because of my charisma, okay? Flanders glared. Furthermore, the Shrek Academy is extremely good at guiding geniuses and making them even more outstanding. Why don't you take a look at the students who graduated from the Shrek Academy? Every one of them is so powerful that they even have a Soul Emperor. Although the Shrek Academy had been established for 20 years, the first batch of students who graduated from the Academy was only 16 years ago. Breaking through to the Soul Ancestor realm was the prerequisite for graduating from the Shrek Academy. 16 years to go from a Soul Ancestor to a Soul Emperor. That was 20 ranks. Isn't it because they're poor? The Grandmaster mercilessly attacked. Flanders was choked speechless. No matter how much he said, it was useless. If their academy had the money back then, they would have definitely given their students a better future. At this moment, Lin Feng laughed. Grandmaster, there's a good saying. Only through suffering can one rise above others. Although the environment of the Heaven Do Imperial Academy students is good, their strength is probably average. They might even need the guidance of a teacher to cultivate their soul power. Shrek Academy's conditions are tough, but the students are extremely hardworking and are even stronger. Other advanced Soul Master Academies only required one to be a Soul Elder to graduate. However, Shrek Academy required one to be a Soul Ancestor to graduate. Furthermore, each and every one of them was a monster. Thus, in terms of strength, they should be in the top 3 of the continent. Good. What Xiaofeng said was right. Only through suffering can one rise to the top. What good saying. Flanders really couldn't understand how Lin Feng's brain worked. He could always say such reasonable words. Lin Feng sighed. Students who live in a tough environment are still very motivated. Everyone was lazy. How diligent were they in their studies during the third year of high school? He thought to himself, you don't have to fail any subjects in university. You just have to pass. Isn't that simple? Then, when he entered university, it was still okay for him to be in his first year. He still had the good style of his third year in high school, so passing wasn't a problem. How many people had fallen by the second year? She had to cram for the exams at the last minute. She did not go to class and had to be there when her classmates arrived. As for studying after class, it didn't exist at all. Wasn't the game more fun for him? Under such circumstances, passing the exam was not a simple task. Generally speaking, such depraved people just didn't have a sense of crisis and didn't feel any pressure. If your whole family gritted their teeth and supported you to go to university, your family's conditions would be very poor. If you didn't study hard and find a good job, you might not even be able to marry a wife in the future. Under such circumstances, you could only work hard and study hard. Don't talk about listening carefully in class. After class, you had to consciously study. Motivated. This word summed up well. The master nodded. Don't look at how Tang San and the others meditated and cultivated every day. They felt that all the students in the continent were so hardworking. In fact, most of them were like salted fish, changing their methods to play every day. Tang San also sighed. When we were in Nodding City, the three of us were working students. We had to find ways to work to earn money for food. If it weren't for the harsh environment at that time, we wouldn't have worked so hard. Hearing this, the others felt a chill in their hearts. Such geniuses and so hardworking. No wonder they became soul elders at the age of 12. Everyone admired Lin Feng and his siblings from the bottom of their hearts. This was especially true for Ning Rongrong. When she first entered the academy, she thought she was hardworking. Who would have thought that everyone else was even more hardworking than her? If she hadn't been reprimanded by Feng Ge, she probably wouldn't have worked so hard. As they chatted, 10 young soul cultivators suddenly blocked their path. They looked to be around 18 or 19 years old and wore the uniform of the Heaven Do Imperial Academy. The leader of the group shouted, "Stop right there. Who are you people? What do you want?" Flanders and the master walked to the front. "We're from the Shrek Academy. We're here for an exchange. Young man, lead the way." If not for the Heaven Do Imperial Academy, Flandra wouldn't have been so courteous to a bunch of kids. He was a soul sage, but the leader of the group looked at them with disdain. "Why don't you take a look at yourselves? A group of beggars wants to come to our academy for an exchange? Don't even think about it. Hurry up and scram, or I'll beat you up." Beggars weren't really a word for them. They just wore plain clothes and had some dust on them because they were in a hurry. Now that the leader of the group was calling them beggars, he was scolding them. There was no need for Lin Feng to make a move. Xiao Wu and Dai Mubai were already impatient. The two of them arrived in front of the group of youths at the same time. Bang! Dai Mubai's legs were longer, but Xiao Wu was faster. The two of them kicked out at the same time, sending the youth flying several meters away. He crashed into the group behind him and crushed them. This wasn't the end. Feng Ge once said that those who strike first gain the advantage. Those who strike last will suffer. Xiao Wu and Dai Mubai continued to attack the group of youths. Because they were soul masters, the two of them had already activated their soul rings and possessed their martial souls. The two soul elders charged into the group of soul grandmasters and beat them up like wolves in a flock of sheep. In truth, there wasn't much of a difference between early-stage soul cultivators. If 10 soul grandmasters were to gang up on 2 soul exalts, they would have a very high chance of success. But this group of students was clearly useless. In their hearts, soul rings represented everything. They didn't even have the concept of the weak defeating the strong. Now that the 2 soul elders had charged over, they were passively taking a beating. They didn't even have the thought of cooperating. Seeing this scene, everyone frowned. Arrogance wasn't the main problem. Their Shrek Academy was also arrogant. The main problem was that these guys were too useless. 10 soul grandmasters didn't even have the slightest thought of cooperating with 2 soul elders. They were too trashy. Was this the Heaven Do Imperial Academy? Chapter 170. In less than half a minute, the 10 soul grandmasters were beaten to the ground by the 2 of them. This was especially true for the guy who had mocked them earlier. Xiao Wu had kicked him twice on the way here, and he was now screaming in pain. Flanders frowned. This Heaven-Do Imperial Academy students are different from what I expected. They're just a bunch of trash. Flanders had never seen a normal academy before. He didn't have any experience in managing so many people, which was why he felt that this situation was inconceivable. Actually, the deans who had the experience of managing many people would know that not every student could represent the academy. It was very normal for there to be dregs in the academy. Even the Grandmaster knew this. When he was in Nodding City's Elementary Soul Master Academy, he saw many students who didn't make any progress. It's too difficult to manage a whole. Every place has trash, the Grandmaster said calmly. When the others heard this, they felt that it made sense. Enough, come back. Flanders stopped the two of them. If they continued fighting, something bad would happen. The group of people who didn't even dare to fart started a clamor after Dai Mubai and Xiao Wu left. You dare to cause trouble in the Heaven-Do Imperial Academy? This is a provocation to the Empire. You'll be in for a treat today. Dai Mubai sneered. Trash is trash. You don't have the qualifications to speak to us. Call your teacher out. Everyone shook their heads. This group of people was too trash. Just like Dai Mubai said, they didn't have the qualifications to speak to them. At this moment, a vigorous voice came from not far away. Who dares to cause trouble in my Heaven-Do Academy? Hearing the sound, everyone looked towards the source of the sound and saw a figure running towards them from a small path on the hillside, not far away. He wasn't young, around 50 years old. He wore silver clothes and had his hands behind his back as he ran. He had the demeanor of an expert. Lin Feng ridiculed in his heart. If this was Fight Break the World, that old man would have stepped through the air and everyone would have said, a dozong is so terrifying. Teacher's son, it's great that you're here. These fellows caused trouble in our academy and wanted to barge in. We tried to stop them, but they injured us and challenged the dignity of the Empire. You have to uphold justice for us. The youth who had been hooting earlier was practically crawling and rolling as he ran to the old man's side. Teacher's son looked at his appearance and frowned. He scolded, Avalanche, what are you doing? Why are you not standing to the side? Because there were outsiders around, Teacher's son didn't have much to say. After berating them, he immediately surveyed everyone. After seeing Flanders and Zhao Wuji, Teacher's son's heart trembled. He knew that these people weren't weaklings. I am Sun Bu, a teacher of the Heaven-Do Academy. May I know what business you have with my academy? As a teacher of the academy, his conduct was very different from that of the students. He appeared to be very steady. Seeing this, Flanders revealed a rare smile. He briefly explained what had happened and the purpose of his visit. After he finished speaking, Teacher's son respectfully said, So it's Shrek Academy's Dean Flanders. To be able to produce a dean like Teacher Qin Ming, it's really admirable. Teacher Qin Ming has already informed us that Shrek Academy will be coming soon. What happened just now was our students' fault. Here, I represent the Heaven-Do Academy to apologize to you. Seeing this teacher being so courteous, everyone's faces bloomed with smiles. Flanders even waved his hand. It's fine, it's fine. At the side, Avalanche, who had been beaten up the most, was so angry that his lungs were about to explode when he saw the two sides talking so happily. However, he didn't say anything. He knew that it was useless to say anything now. He had to wait for a while. He had to go back and find his parents before he could take revenge. Everyone, please follow me. Under Teacher Sun's lead, everyone walked up the mountain. Lin Feng, who was at the back, glanced at Avalanche and wondered if he should kill this guy. He knew that Avalanche's identity was the Heaven-Do Empire's fourth prince. On the surface, he seemed to be arrogant and despotic. His goal was to make Qian Renshua, who was disguised as Xue Qinghe, lower her guard. According to the original novel, he seemed to be going to invite the Snow Prince and Douluo to come and force Flanders and the others to leave. Wait, Douluo is coming. Suddenly, Lin Feng seemed to have thought of something interesting and ignored Avalanche. Go, when Douluo and the Snow Prince arrive, it will be interesting. Just like that, everyone from Shrek followed Teacher's son up the mountain. Avalanche, who was at the same spot, said with hatred, Shrek Academy, right? A trash academy actually dares to come to our Heaven-Do Academy as an exchange student. I think they're just here to make a living. Just you wait with me here. Don't even think about staying here. Your Highness, this isn't good. A youth in the crowd advised. This is good. Very good. A bunch of people don't even think about staying in our academy. Avalanche said angrily and led everyone towards Heaven-Do City. However, what they didn't notice was that there was a guy who slowly walked to the end of the group and then quietly left the group. After arriving at the side of the forest, he quickly ran inside. After a while, he arrived in front of an ordinary tree. He circled around the tree and soon stood on an open space. Then he squatted down and took out a strange token. Then he placed it on the ground. Pata! With a crisp sound, the ground actually opened up and revealed a tunnel. The youth put away the token and quickly rushed in. There was a small base inside, and there were more than 10 bases like this in the vicinity of Heaven-Do City. They were all set up by the Martial Spear Hall and were specially used to gather information about Heaven-Do City. On the surface, this youth was a student of Heaven-Do Academy, but in reality, he was a spy for the Martial Spear Hall. He reported the news of Shrek Academy entering Heaven-Do Academy to the person in charge here. He described in detail how many people came, how many children and adults there were, how strong they were, and so on. Apart from that, he also recorded the news of Avalanche being beaten up and his vicious words. After reporting, he left, and this news was quickly transmitted to Xue Qinghe through the Martial Spirit Hall's intelligence network. Heaven-Do Imperial City, Crown Prince Palace. Xue Qinghe looked at the information in his hand and smiled. Black Tiger Ah Fu, you really came, he muttered. Avalanche, this guy, looks like he's not convinced after being beaten up. That's fine, I'll go probe their situation and see what this Shrek Academy is like. But when the time came, he could also follow them and see the situation. If Avalanche caused a bad impression, he could also gain some goodwill. Thinking about this, Xue Qinghe's lips curled up. Chapter 171. Lin Feng didn't know anything about Xue Qinghe. At this moment, everyone from Shrek was still in awe of Heaven-Do Academy's extravagance. After entering the mountain, everyone discovered that the stone steps leading to the school's entrance were carved out of white marble. Every stone step had a different soul beast pattern on it, and it was truly a magnificent sight. The surroundings were also very beautiful, and the air was very fresh. Everyone felt that it was completely different from the outside world. Tang San, in particular, was deeply moved. After a soul master reached rank 30, they would develop a sense of intimacy with energy of the same attribute as their martial soul. Tang San's martial soul was blue silvergrass. When he was in the Star-Do Great Forest, he felt a sense of intimacy with it. Now he felt a sense of intimacy again. On the way, Teacher Sun gave everyone a simple introduction of the academy. For example, the mimicry area, the main campus, and so on. Flanders also asked some questions from time to time. For example, how many people were there in the academy, how many teachers were there, and so on. Teacher Sun answered all of his questions. Everyone was a soul master, so their walking speed wasn't slow. Soon, they reached the waist of the mountain, which was also the main campus of Heaven-Do Academy. The main campus was mostly built with single-story houses. They weren't tall and gave off the feeling of a fortress. The outer courtyard walls were 5 meters tall and were very tight. After entering the academy, they didn't see many students. According to Teacher Sun, most of the students were cultivating in the mimicry area. There weren't many people in the main campus. Soon, he brought everyone from Shrek Academy to a guest room. After that, he went to find Qin Ming. Qin Ming was very sad about this matter and ran over after a while. After exchanging some pleasantries, he said, Dean, don't worry. I've already talked to the higher-ups. They are very welcoming of the teachers from Shrek Academy. There aren't any big problems. It's a little late today, but I've already arranged rooms for all of you. Tomorrow, I'll bring you to the higher-ups to settle this matter. Qin Ming was able to do so well in Heaven-Do Imperial Academy, not only because of his talent, but also because he knew how to do things. The rooms that Qin Ming arranged for everyone were all single rooms. The locations were excellent, and they were all brand new. Flanders and the others were very satisfied with this arrangement. After checking out the houses, Qi Ming treated everyone to a meal in the school. At the same time, they talked a lot about the school. Among them, the most important was the grade structure of the students and teachers. The Heavendo Imperial Academy students were divided into 3 levels. The first level was the Heaven Micro level. Those below level 30 and above level 25 were called Heavenly Sovereigns. Above level 30, it was the Heavendo level. The grading of teachers was the same as that of students. The only difference was that the requirements were different. For the Heaven Micro grade teachers, they were required to be at least level 40. For the Heaven Extreme grade teachers, they were required to be at least level 50. And for the Heavendo grade teachers, they were required to be at least level 60. When he mentioned the Heavendo level teacher, Qi Ming probably emphasized it a few times to show off to Tang San and the others what his identity was. However, Tang San and the others did not bite at all. They did not look shocked at all, which made Qi Ming feel slightly embarrassed. However, this was not a big deal. He quickly continued to talk about the academy. Heavendo Academy did not have a principal. There was only a committee of 3 Douluo souls. Other than important matters that were decided by the royal family, the Committee of Education was in charge of everything else. The academy had a total of 8 Heavendo level teachers. If Flanders and the others joined, then there would be 5 more Heavendo level teachers. The strength of the teachers would be strengthened again. At this point, Qi Ming emphasized that the Heavendo level teachers would not only provide food and accommodation, but also a salary of 3,000 gold coins a month. Such a generous salary could be said to be the highest in the entire continent. With his understanding of Flanders, that guy's eyes would definitely shine. However, to his surprise, Flanders was only slightly surprised. Not only that, but the other teachers also did not express anything. As for Tang San and the others, their expressions were indifferent. Especially the one called Xiao Wu. There was a trace of disdain in the corner of her mouth. It was as if she was looking down on 3,000 gold coins. 3,000 gold coins, even to Qi Ming, it was a large sum of money. What the hell is with these people's disdainful expressions? Just as he was puzzled, Xiao Wu whispered to Lin Feng, "Feng Ge, Heavendo City is the imperial city. There are a lot of delicious food and fun things to do. You've earned so much money. When the time comes, you have to treat us." Although her voice was not loud, Qi Ming still heard it. He thought that this group of children had won some money in the soul dueling arena and wanted to spend a lot. So he advised, the cost of living in Heavendo City is still very high. Even soul masters have to be frugal when they come to spend money. Flanders laughed. "You don't have to worry about them, especially Xiao Feng. He's very rich." Rich? Qi Ming really couldn't imagine how rich a soul elder could be. Even if he included the subsidies from the Martial Spear Hall and the income from the soul dueling arena, he would at most have 3,000 to 4,000 gold coins. With so much money, if he spent extravagantly in Heavendo City, it would be gone in less than a month. Yes, he won more than 1,000,000 gold coins before. Flanders sighed. What? More than 1,000,000? Qi Ming was shocked, then asked, "Copper coins? What are you thinking it's gold coins?" Flanders was amused by these words. "More than 1,000,000 gold coins? How is that possible?" Qi Ming looked at Lin Feng, his mouth opened so wide that an egg could be stuffed in. Previously, in the soul dueling arena in Silva City, the children had a soul dueling arena, and then the bets were very big. Xiao Feng bet 200,000, and in the end, he won 6 times. When Flanders said this, his mouth was full of the taste of lemons. It was really sour. Master added on the side, "Fortunately, we left after one battle. Otherwise, with so much money won, the soul dueling arena would probably come looking for trouble." Generally speaking, soul masters were not allowed to bet when they were in a soul dueling arena. Of course, this was just a rule. Generally, even if soul masters bet, nothing would happen. After all, they were too lazy to care about dozens or hundreds of gold coins. But if the amount reached tens of thousands, the inspection would generally be very strict. When they were in the soul dueling arena in Silvis, if they had left slowly, they might have been left behind. It's just a little money. It's nothing. Seeing Qin Ming's surprised look, Lin Feng showed a rich smile. More than 1,000,000 gold coins. What else could Qin Ming say? For a moment, Qin Ming's mouth was sour, and he felt like he had eaten several mouthfuls of lemons. Chapter 172. After the welcome banquet, everyone was tired from the day's work. Soon, they returned to their rooms to rest. Tomorrow, Qin Ming would bring everyone from Shrek to the Board of Education to confirm this matter. Once it was approved, they would be considered members of Heavendoe Academy. At the same time, Xueqinghe received 2 pieces of news in Heavendoe Imperial City. One was about Shrek's group. They had already settled down in Heavendoe Imperial Academy for the night and would go to the Board of Education tomorrow. The other piece of news was about the 4th prince, Avalanche. He had gone to the prince's residence today. Although Xueqinghe didn't know the details, he could roughly guess that the arrogant and despotic 4th prince had asked Prince Xuexing to stand up for him. Prince Xuexing was currently the head of Heavendoe Imperial Academy, and all important decisions of the Board of Education had to be approved by him. This Avalanche really knew how to complain. However, it was already late today. Even if the prince wanted to find trouble, he would have to wait until tomorrow. In that case, what reason should he think of to go to Heavendoe Imperial Academy tomorrow? Xueqinghe fell into deep thought. Heavendoe Academy, Lin Feng's room. 1 against 3. Ace bomb. Fuck. 1 against 3, and you're using your ace bomb? No way. Lin Feng's 2 avatars and main body were playing Fight the Landlord with themselves. Beside them, Xiaoying was sleeping. Although it felt strange, it was quite fun to entertain himself. Most importantly, it could train his own abilities. Of course, Lin Feng wasn't just multitasking. His avatar was standing guard at the foot of the mountain. When Poison Douluo came out, he would go up and fight. Lin Feng could sense that there were several titled Douluo in Heavendoe City. He didn't dare to go in and cause trouble. Lin Feng's avatar wasn't afraid of one titled Douluo. However, if he had to face several at once, he could only run. That was why he had purposely let Avalanche leave. His goal was to lure Poison out and let him gain experience. Even if Douluo was only a rank 91 titled Douluo, Lin Feng would gain close to 10 million experience points just by fighting him. There was no way he would kill him. Titled Douluo were all top-notch experience babies, so he had to keep them alive. In the original novel, after Douluo cured himself of the poison, it didn't take long for him to break through to level 92. Lin Feng was curious. Would Douluo, a titled battle pet warrior at level 92, gain more experience points? However, it was already dark today, and Poison Douluo probably wouldn't come. Thinking about this, Lin Feng's incarnation prepared to return. Suddenly, a figure at the foot of the mountain attracted Lin Feng's attention. Lin Feng remembered this guy. He seemed to be one of Avalanche's people. Why did he feel like he was sneaking into the forest? Slightly curious, Lin Feng immediately followed. It would have been fine if he didn't follow, but once he did, he discovered a secret. This guy turned out to be a spy. As for what kind of force, Lin Feng didn't know yet, but he would know soon. Taking advantage of the moment when this guy opened up a tunnel next to the tree, Lin Feng waved his hand. The 1,000 manipulator ruler turned into a small insect and attached itself to his body. Lin Feng's consciousness attached itself to this insect. This place piqued Lin Feng's curiosity. With his current ability to multitask, it was effortless for Lin Feng to control one more insect. Fortunately, after reaching level 70, the 1,000 manipulator ruler had evolved and gained a life force characteristic. This characteristic didn't mean that Lin Feng had to transform into a human to be able to attach his consciousness to it. As long as it transformed into something with life, whether it was an animal or a plant, Lin Feng could attach himself to it. It was very convenient. When a youth entered the tunnel, Lin Feng discovered that this was a tunnel that led underground. The tunnel wasn't big, but it was very deep. At first, it was very narrow, but after taking a few more steps, it suddenly opened up. In front of him was a small underground base. It wasn't big, about 100 square meters. Looking around, this base seemed to be a relay station. There were many holes in the surroundings. The hole that the youth came from was only one of them. There were many spirit masters busy in this base. It seemed to be divided into several areas, each with their own duties. After the youth came in, he went straight to one of the areas and began to report the information he had just obtained. After listening for a while, Lin Feng's expression became slightly strange. He was actually talking about Avalanche going to the prince's residence to complain. It seemed that Poison Douluo and the prince would come tomorrow. He was really curious. They had just arrived, and he was already fighting with Poison Douluo. What would the prince's expression be like? There was also that Avalanche and the fourth prince. Two titled Douluo-level experts were fighting nearby. What would these two fellows think? Just thinking about it made Lin Feng feel that it was very interesting. At this moment, there was no point in continuing to listen. The little bug that Lin Feng attached himself to began to quickly look around. 10 minutes later, Lin Feng confirmed that this place was one of the specialized intelligence bases. There were many similar intelligence bases around Heavendoe City. Their purpose was to monitor the situation around Heavendoe City. As for the power behind this base, Lin Feng didn't need to look to know that it was definitely the Martial Spirit Hall. Other than the Martial Spirit Hall, how could other powers have so many spirit masters and even monitor Heavendoe Imperial City? Good heavens, this Martial Spirit Hall was really well prepared. Not only did they exchange Qian Rinxue for the prince, but they also secretly monitored the situation of the surrounding powers. If Heavendoe City was like this, then the situation in Douluo City wouldn't be any better. Lin Feng remembered that the Martial Spirit Hall's control over the Douluo Empire was much greater than the Heavendoe Empire. That place was more or less the Martial Spirit Hall's territory. The few major sects were more or less secretly subdued by the Martial Spirit Hall. In Heavendoe City, the Martial Spirit Hall was also secretly subduing many powers and academies. It could be said that with such a meticulous plan, as long as the time was right, the Martial Spirit Hall could easily destroy the two empires. In the original work, if it wasn't for Tang San's protagonist aura, Lin Feng really didn't know how he could have one. In fact, to be honest, Lin Feng really resisted the natural sense of superiority of these aristocrats of the empire. They controlled the lives and deaths of the commoners. As a modern youth who had accepted the core values of socialism, Lin Feng agreed with the idea that everyone was equal. This aristocracy of the empire was really not good. Lin Feng also didn't agree with the Martial Spirit Hall's way of doing things. If Lin Feng really had to choose, he felt that socialism was better. When he was strong enough, he would gather all the titled Douluo and let him earn experience points every day. Lin Feng remembered that there were gods in this world. When he had enough experience points, Lin Feng would even capture gods to earn experience points. When the time came, Lin Feng's experience points would shoot up like a rocket. Chapter 173. There wasn't much to see in this base, and Lin Feng didn't want to care about the secrets of the Martial Soul Hall. What he wanted to do now was to farm for experience. Of course, the so-called farm for experience here didn't refer to catching 10,000-year soul beasts to fight. That would be too inefficient. In the previous 2 months, Lin Feng had earned over 1 million experience points every day, but that was mainly in the first half of the month. After that, Lin Feng earned less and less experience points every day. On the last day, he only earned 3 to 400,000. The reason was that he had fought with soul beasts too many times. Lin Feng had already figured out the conditions to earn experience points. He could only earn experience points once a day by fighting with a soul beast or a person. Furthermore, the experience points earned on the second day would be less than the previous day. After that, the experience points would become less and less, and eventually, there wouldn't be any left. Therefore, Lin Feng didn't want to farm for experience anymore. What he needed was to fight with a 100,000-year soul beast or Douluo. The deepest parts of the Douluo Great Forest were too dangerous, and Daming didn't want to fight with him. The other 100,000-year soul beasts were hidden very deeply, and Lin Feng couldn't find them. Therefore, Lin Feng wouldn't go to the Douluo Great Forest for the time being. Although there was only 100,000-year soul beast in the Setting Sun Forest, Lin Feng felt at least 3 of them. That place was very hostile to Lin Feng, so he wouldn't go there for the time being. Lin Feng didn't know how many 100,000-year-old beasts there were in the extreme north and the star Luo Empire's Great Forest. He was prepared to investigate the situation and find a suitable soul beast to be his 8th soul ring. If there were many 100,000-year-old beasts, Lin Feng was prepared to retreat. After all, as a prudent person, Lin Feng didn't want to put himself in danger. Making a plan before moving was the correct choice. Lin Feng would have to turn his attention to Douluo if his soul beasts weren't able to grind for experience. Most of the titled battle pet warriors on the continent of Douluo were elusive. The titled battle pet warriors that Lin Feng knew were mostly gathered together. Lin Feng would have to find an opportunity to fight them alone. Lin Feng saw several opportunities in the original work, such as the poisoning of Douluo, the assassination attempt in Martial Spirit City, and the time when the Pope, Tang Hao, made a move. Among them, the one at the Pontiff's Palace was the most important. If Lin Feng grasped the opportunity well enough, he would also strike a blow with Tang Hao. Fighting against nearly 10 titled battle pet warriors at the same time would earn him more than 100 million experience points. Of course, those opportunities were dead. Lin Feng wasn't stupid enough to wait for them for such a long time. He was in Heavendo City right now, and there were several titled Douluo there. He could create an opportunity for himself. As long as there weren't 3 or more titled battle pet warriors attacking him, he wouldn't be afraid even if there were 2 of them. Of course, the titled battle pet warriors that Lin Feng was talking about were all below rank 95. Super Douluo above rank 95 would be terrifying. Before Lin Feng obtained his 8th soul ring, he wouldn't dare to fight 2 titled battle pet warriors. At most, he would fight 1 titled battle pet warrior. Also, the rank of the titled battle pet warrior couldn't be higher than rank 96. Otherwise, he would have to run away. After all, for a titled Douluo to reach rank 95 and above, every rank required a lot of time. As time passed, which of these titled Douluo didn't become extremely wealthy? They would have soul bones and so on. Even Tang Hao, a lone wolf, had 2 soul bones. As for those powerful titled battle pet warriors, which one of them didn't have powerful backing? It would be easy for them to get their hands on soul bones. Soul bones might not be 100,000 years old, but soul bones above 10,000 years old could still increase one's strength by a lot. Therefore, Lin Feng wouldn't touch those high-level titled battle pet warriors at the moment. There was no need to think so much today. He would see how much experience points he could get from fighting Douluo tomorrow. With that thought, the bug that Lin Feng was controlling disappeared. His avatar also returned to his body. The 2 clones that were playing cards with him were still playing cards with him. 3-on-3. Ace Bomb. F***CK. Why did you use an ace bomb? Do you even know how to play cards? The night passed uneventfully. The next day, they woke up early. However, Qiming woke up even earlier. He asked someone to send breakfast over. He had made good arrangements for everyone. During breakfast, everyone was full of praise for this. Even Lin Feng felt very comfortable. Qiming really knew how to be a good person. Most importantly, he was a genius. In the future, he would have a great chance of becoming a titled battle pet warrior like Douluo. Just like in his previous life, people who were nice and had good grades were very popular in class. After breakfast, they didn't chat too much. Under Qiming's lead, they walked toward the education committee. The education committee was located in the center of the main campus. It was also the largest building on the main campus. Although it was also a single-story building, it was a huge hall that was similar to the Martial Spirit Palace. After all, they had just arrived. They were still a little restrained in this unfamiliar place. They didn't feel as free as they did in Shrek Academy. Ning Rongrong, Dai Mubai, and Zhu Zhuqing didn't feel much. The 3 of them were all experienced. However, the others were a little nervous. This was especially true for Xiao Wu, who was extremely nervous. Last time in the Star Do Great Forest, Dusty Heart didn't discover her identity. This made her very confused. However, she couldn't figure out what was going on. In the end, she could only guess that Dusty Heart didn't pay attention to her at all. In addition, The battle between Erming and Thanos had caused severe fluctuations of soul power in the surroundings. That was why she wasn't discovered. However, she was going to meet 3-soul Douluo right now, and if she stayed any longer, she might be exposed. Later, she planned to stay behind everyone. If Douluo didn't use his soul power to sense her, he wouldn't discover her. Lin Feng was at the back of the group. He didn't panic at all. With his hands behind his head, he was very relaxed. He was observing his surroundings. On the other side, his avatar was already waiting at the foot of the mountain. As soon as Poison Douluo came, he would immediately make a move. On the mountain, the group quickly arrived at the entrance of the education committee. To Flanders' surprise, the 3 old men were already waiting at the entrance. They were wearing black robes. This was a kind of formal attire that only Soul Douluo could wear. It was specially made by the Martial Spirit Palace. It represented their noble status. The 3 old men's faces were full of gentle smiles, which made people feel good about them. They were all strong people on the same level as Soul Douluo. Flanders' group was a little flattered that they were personally welcoming them at the entrance. At that moment, they didn't dare to delay and quickly walked forward. Chapter 174. No matter how proud Flanders was, he couldn't help but feel touched by the respect the 3 elders had shown him. This was a set of long black robes that symbolized Soul Douluo's status, and they were usually only worn during extremely important occasions. The fact that the 3 elderly men had donned these robes to welcome them was simply too touching. Flanders quickened his pace and arrived in front of the 3 elders. He crossed his arms and bowed slightly. Principal Flanders of the Shrek Academy. My martial soul is the Cathawk, and I am a rank 78 agility-type soul sage. Nice to meet you. In the world of soul cultivators, this was the etiquette of a junior greeting his seniors. Flanders was only in his 50s, so it was appropriate for him to greet 3 elders who were over 80 years old. Principal Flanders, there's no need to be so courteous. We're impressed that you've managed to raise a disciple like Qin Ming. It's our honor to be able to receive guidance from the teachers of the Shrek Academy. The old man, who was the leader of the 3, quickly came over and helped Flinder up. Not many people on the continent knew about Shrek Academy. The reason why the 3 of them knew about it was because Qin Ming was too much of a genius. They only knew about the Shrek Academy through Qin Ming. I'm Dream Shinji, the chief of the Board of Education. My martial soul is the Black Demon, and I'm a rank 86 control-type Daw. Dream Shinji was very skinny. He didn't seem to have much flesh on his body, but he was in good spirits. His face was rosy, and his voice was gentle. He was pleasing to the eye. Dream Shinji introduced the other 2 elders. The one on the left is the 2nd chief of the Board of Education. His name is Bai Baoshan, and he's a rank 85 defense-type Daw. Bai Baoshan was chubby and not very tall. When he heard Dream Shinji's introduction, he smiled and nodded at the others. The one on the right is the 3rd chief of the Board of Education. His name is Ji Lin, and he's a rank 83 control-type Daw. Dream Shinji pointed at the last person. Ji Lin looked ordinary, but his aura was very special. When he heard the introduction, he smiled and nodded at everyone. The 3 of them were aware of the situation in Shrek Academy, and the Dream God Machine immediately replied, "Don't be so polite. We'll be a family from now on. Please come in." Led by Dream Shinji and the other 2 elders, everyone from the Shrek Academy entered the hall. The hall wasn't as luxurious as they'd imagined. Instead, it was very simple. There were almost no extravagant decorations, but there were a lot of greenery. There were not many seats in the hall. After the hosts and guests were seated, Tang San and the others could only stand behind Flinder and the others. Xiao Wu, in particular, instinctively stood behind Lin Feng and Tang San, her little face full of nervousness. His avatar was at the foot of the Shrek Academies. He could see that the Grand Prince was rushing over from Heavendo City to the Heavendo Academy. Dugabo was probably right beside him. Lin Feng thought to himself, when he got closer, he would attack. In fact, it was best to attack now. However, there was a distance limit between his avatar and his main body. If he attacked now, Douluo only had to retreat a little, and his avatar wouldn't be able to chase after him. With that thought, Lin Feng's avatar waited for Douluo to get closer. In the Board of Education's hall, other than Xiao Wu, the 7 people around Lin Feng were all very excited. These were 3-soul Douluo, and they weren't far from the most powerful title Douluo. Being able to interact with them at such a close distance made Hui Yuhao feel like he was a fan meeting a celebrity. He couldn't control himself for a long time. Tang Xin turned to Lin Feng and sighed. Feng Gu, Soul Douluo, and Title Douluo are all unfathomable. They are true experts. Tang Xin used his purple demon eyes to observe them. Other than their noble auras, he couldn't see anything else. Kinduru Ashin in the Star Do Great Forest was the same. He also gave off an amiable feeling. The 3-soul Douluo was the same. They're experts, but they're a bit old, Lin Feng said calmly. They were over 80 years old, and the highest rank they could reach was rank 86. Unless they had a fortuitous encounter, rank 89 was their limit. They wouldn't be able to become a titled Douluo in their entire lives. However, Soul Douluo was already very powerful and had a very honorable status. At the very least, there weren't many Soul Douluos on the continent right now. Only the Heaven Do Imperial Academy was able to invite a 3-soul Douluo to be the Board of Education. For most advanced Soul Master Academies, having a Soul Sage as their dean was already very impressive. At this moment, Meng Xinji ordered the waiter to serve some snacks and fruits as he spoke. The fact that your academy was able to produce a genius like Qin Ming has already shocked me greatly. However, I also heard that our academy's Imperial Battle Team was defeated by a student from Shrek Academy. Furthermore, their average age was only 13 years old. This is truly shocking. When Qin Ming told them that the Shrek Academy students had defeated the Imperial Battle Team, they didn't think much of it. However, when they heard that the average age of the Imperial Battle Team was only 13, they were shocked. Later on, when Qin Ming said that Shrek students were coming to Heaven Do Academy, the 3 of them were very supportive. Their academy needed this kind of monstrous soul master. Furthermore, how bad could a teacher who could produce such a monstrous soul master be? The 3 of them were very welcoming. It's mainly because of the children's hard work. Although Flanders said this, his face was full of smiles. Dream Shinji continued. I've also heard from Qin Ming about your requests. We can agree to all of them. Shrek students will be under your tutelage. Unless you ask for it, we won't assign any teaching tasks to you. In Heaven Do Academy, everyone has a lot of freedom. Even if you want to leave in the future, we won't stop you. Furthermore, if you have any requests during your tenure, as long as it's within my authority, we'll agree. Dream Shinji's words were very sincere, and Flanders and the Grandmaster were very moved. To be honest, Shrek Academy was just a run-of-the-mill academy. It was nothing in front of these great academies. However, not only were they strong, but they also respected them. This made Flinder feel very touched. Many thanks to the 3 seniors. Flanders thanked them profusely. At this moment, Jilin Soldaw suddenly asked, I heard from Qin Ming that your academy has an auxiliary-type soul master who can defeat a soul king with a single punch? The 3 of them knew that everyone in Shrek Academy was a monstrous soul master. When they heard that a soul elder could defeat a soul king with a single punch, the 3 of them didn't believe it. This was too fake. The difference between the 2 was too great. It was like a kindergarten kid beating up a middle school student. It was too unbelievable. Chapter 175. After hearing Ji Lin's question, Tang San and the others subconsciously turned to look at Lin Feng. Flanders smiled and said, That's true. That Soul King is just a weak Soul King who doesn't even have a 10,000-year soul ring. He's only as strong as a soul ancestor. The word weak usually represented a commoner soul master. The first soul ring of these soul masters was usually 10-year, and the rest of their soul rings were much weaker. These soul masters were usually very weak. It was fine at the beginning because their soul rings were very weak. Later on, soul kings and soul emperors would be very weak. If their soul rings were weak, some genius soul masters with perfect soul rings would be able to fight above their rank. As for those above Soul Sage, there was no need to discuss them. This was because it was too difficult for commoner soul masters to become soul sages. The peak of commoner soul masters was rank 69. May I know who he is? Ji Lin asked this question mainly because he wanted to test this auxiliary type soul master. If he was really that strong, their academy would use all of its resources to nurture him. If he wasn't, then there was no need to think about it. Just as Ji Lin asked this question, Douluo Bo, Prince Xuexing, and the fourth prince arrived at the foot of the mountain. To one side, Lin Feng's external avatar was ready to attack. Close, this is a good opportunity. In an instant, Lin Feng unleashed all sorts of soul skills. 7th soul skill, martial soul, true body. 3rd soul skill, armored demonic bear transformation. 5th soul skill, netherworld force. 6th soul skill, thunderous wings. At the same time, a club appeared in Lin Feng's hand. Then, he smashed it towards Douluo Bo. The use and maintenance of soul skills relied on soul power undulations. No matter how good Lin Feng's control of his soul power was, he couldn't completely hide from other senses. Perhaps Lin Feng was doing his best to conceal himself, so Soul Douluo couldn't sense him. However, titled Douluo was starting to come into contact with the power of laws, so he could still sense him. Therefore, Lin Feng had been waiting quietly until Douluo Bo got close to him. Then he suddenly made his move. Moreover, he used his full strength. After all, this was only an avatar, and Lin Feng's strength was limited. He wanted to end this battle quickly. They were not far from the Heaven-Do city. It would only take 1 or 2 minutes for a titled battle pet warrior to arrive. On the off chance that Douluo called for backup, Lin Feng would be in a passive position. Therefore, Lin Feng had to go all out. For a moment, Lin Feng transformed into a bolt of lightning, charging straight for Douluo Bo. On Douluo Bo's side, he had sensed the situation when Lin Feng's martial soul true body had been activated. He immediately retreated with the Grand Prince and the Fourth Prince. However, Lin Feng was simply too fast. Douluo Bo knew that he couldn't escape, so he immediately put down the Prince and the Fourth Prince. Then, he released his martial soul true body and charged forward. He could sense that the person who had ambushed him was very strong. He was at least a titled battle pet warrior. Furthermore, he had unleashed his full strength. If he didn't release his martial soul true body, he might not be able to withstand this attack. At this moment, Lin Feng was also in front of Douluo Bo. "It's you. Who the hell are you?" The moment Douluo Bo saw the lightning wings on Lin Feng's back, he knew who this guy was. He still remembered the loss he had suffered in the setting sun forest not long ago. Take a guess. Lin Feng chuckled as he struck Douluo Bo's snake with his club. Lin Feng used to like using spears. Later, he realized that a club was the best weapon. It was convenient and comfortable. "How dare you ambush me in Heaven-Do, Imperial City? You can stay here forever." Douluo Bo's snake body was trembling from Lin Feng's club. However, his soul skills weren't to be trifled with. He had used 3 or 4 soul skills at the same time, so he wasn't injured. At this moment, he first released the Medusa's eye on Lin Feng. Then, he turned around and screamed in the direction of Heaven-Do City. In Heaven-Do City, several titled battle pet warriors hidden in Douluo heard this scream. They knew that this was Douluo Bo's signal for help. 2 of them communicated with each other and immediately rushed over to Lin Feng. Not far from where Douluo Bo and Lin Feng were fighting, Xuexing frowned. Beside him was Ingluan Douluo, who was overseeing Heaven-Do City's martial soul temple. Xuexing was prepared to follow Avalanche to Heaven-Do Academy, and Ingluan Douluo was specially called over to protect him. He didn't expect a huge battle to break out in front of him. "Can you see what's going on in front?" Xuexing didn't see the battle in front of him. When the battle broke out, he was pulled to the side by Ingluan Douluo. "Your Highness, the poison Douluo is fighting with a masked Douluo. The poison Douluo just sent a request for reinforcements to Heaven-Do City, and I'm guessing that a few titled Douluos will be coming to reinforce them." Ingluan Douluo was sent to Heaven-Do City by Bibi Dong. On one hand, he was to oversee the martial soul temple, and on the other, he was to watch over Shueqinghe and protect him. Master Douluo. Shueqinghe's heart skipped a beat. Go and see what that Master Douluo's mask looks like. Draw it for me. Yes, Your Highness. Your Highness. The shadow wheel Douluo replied before he transformed into a phantom and made his way toward Lin Feng. At the same time, in the Heavendo Imperial Academy's Board of Education, the three Board of Education stood up at the same time. The Dream Shinji said in surprise, "There's a battle going on down there. I think it's most likely a titled battle pet warrior, Douluo." The three Seoul Douluo Imperial Academy's Board of Education had sharp senses. They had a rough idea of what was going on. Flanders and the others didn't notice anything. They were confused, but the Dream Shinji didn't have time to explain. How dare you fight in Heavendo Imperial Academy? Even a titled battle pet warrior Douluo will have to give an explanation. The three Seoul Douluo Imperial Academy's Board of Education were powerful. Some of the more powerful ones could even be as powerful as titled Douluo Imperial Academy's Board of Education. Right now, the three Seoul Douluo were gathered together. Even if they didn't use their martial soul fusion, they could still match an ordinary titled Douluo just by working together. That was why the three Board of Education dared to say something like that. The three Board of Education hurried down the mountain. Flanders and the others were also curious. "Little gang, you stay here and look after the children. Wuji, Xiao Xian, and I will go down and take a look. We'll be back soon." With that, Flanders went down with the other two. The three of them were soul sages. Together, they could rival a battle pet warrior Douluo Imperial Academy's Board of Education. They would be able to protect themselves if they went down. There were only a dozen people left in the hall. "Did you just say that a titled battle pet warrior Douluo Imperial Academy's Board of Education is fighting down there? And it's in Heavendo Imperial Academy's territory?" Ning Rongrong's face was full of shock. She couldn't believe it at all. They were near Heavendo City. Unless there was an invasion, how could a titled battle pet warrior Douluo Imperial Academy's Board of Education break out? The Grandmaster frowned. "I hope they can all come back safely." A titled battle pet warrior Douluo Imperial Academy's Board of Education was a sign of war. Chapter 176. Right now, Lin Feng had been hit by Douluo's Medusa's Eye. Previously, he had taken a few seconds to break free. However, after activating his martial soul true body, his first soul skill, Life Bloom, released a 7-colored light. In just a breath's time, his petrification had completely disappeared. The martial soul true body was also a form of soul skill and was equivalent to a soul skill's amplification. Normally, it would manifest its own martial soul, which would be very large and very oppressive. However, Lin Feng's control of his soul power was extremely strong, and he could hide his martial soul true body. Others couldn't see what his martial soul was. "Today, you will die here." Douluo knew that he couldn't defeat Lin Feng. This masked man had a soul skill that was extremely effective against his poison. This made the poison that Douluo was so proud of useless. However, he didn't need to defeat Lin Feng. He just needed to delay him for a few minutes. When his teammates arrived, Lin Feng would definitely die. However, what puzzled Douluo was that this fellow should have a soul skill that could summon an avatar. Why hadn't he used it yet? "Old man, you should worry about yourself first." Lin Feng's staff swung wildly as he suppressed Douluo. Because of Lin Feng's speed, Douluo's 8th soul skill actually missed. Lin Feng's staff became 30 meters long, and he smashed Douluo's snake body until it was rolling. However, Douluo had a tenacious life force and was very strong. Although Lin Feng's avatar could suppress Douluo, it would probably take a while to kill him. Furthermore, this was under the condition that Douluo didn't run away. Otherwise, Lin Feng wouldn't be able to kill him with just one avatar. If his main body came over, Douluo wouldn't be able to escape under their combined attacks. Not far away, the prince and the 4th prince, Avalanche, who had been abandoned by Douluo, were already extremely shocked. Douluo was a titled battle pet warrior, Douluo, one of the most powerful warriors on the continent. But now, He was being suppressed by a masked man. This was shocking. Their worldview had been turned upside down. At this moment, their minds were in a mess. They had long forgotten that they were going to the education committee to vent their anger. As for Luan Douluo, he returned to Xueqing's side. As he described Lin Feng's appearance, he used his soul power to display Lin Feng's appearance. It's him, Thanos. Xueqing was shocked. Why was he here? Could it be that he had always been secretly protecting Black Tiger, Afu? Or was he from the Shrek Academy? According to the information he had received, Thanos had appeared in the Star-Do Great Forest, and it seemed that the people from the Shrek Academy were there as well. Combined with the relationship between Black Tiger, Afu, and the Shrek Academy, Xueqing came to this conclusion. Regardless of whether his guess was right or not, this Thanos had a close relationship with Black Tiger Afu. It was even possible that the Soul Sage he had sent out was killed by Thanos. From the looks of it, he would be able to obtain a lot of information if he came into contact with Black Tiger Afu. On the other side, the 3 education committee members had already arrived at the foot of the mountain. After all, they were only less than 3 kilometers away from each other, and a Douluo would arrive very quickly. When the 3 of them saw Douluo being suppressed by Lin Feng, their expressions were similar to that of Prince Xueqing and the others. It was as if their worldview had been turned upside down. That was a tidal battle pet warrior, Douluo, one of the most powerful warriors on the continent. Yet, he was being suppressed by someone else. Even if this masked man was also a tidal battle pet warrior, it would be very difficult for him to suppress another tidal battle pet warrior, Douluo, under the circumstances where the difference in their ranks wasn't that great. Even with the suppression of his martial soul, it would still be very difficult for him to suppress another tidal battle pet warrior. At this moment, the soul power fluctuations emanating from Lin Feng's body weren't very powerful, and it felt as if he were a powerful being who had only just become a tidal Douluo. How could he possibly be dominating the poisoned Douluo? In fact, this was also the reason why Lin Feng didn't reveal his 100,000-year soul ring. The suppression of a 100,000-year soul ring was a qualitative change. If Lin Feng had deliberately revealed his 100,000-year soul ring, the suppression of his soul power would have been extremely strong. Even Douluo's strength would have been affected by it. What are you waiting for? This masked man ambushed me. Hurry up and kill him. Douluo immediately shouted after discovering the 3 education committee members. The 3 education committee members recognized Poison Douluo and Douluo. They were guests of Prince Xueqing. Now that they were under attack, the 3 of them had to act. After looking at each other, the 3 of them summoned their martial souls and attacked Lin Feng's avatar. At this moment, Lin Feng also sensed 2 strong auras coming from behind him. He knew that they were tidal Douluo. I'll let you go today. The next time we meet, I'll kill you. Lin Feng said viciously. He activated his netherworld power and quickly ran to the side. Tie him down, Douluo shouted. The Dream God Machine and Lin were control-type soul masters. At this moment, under Douluo's command, they threw their control-type soul skills at Lin Feng. However, these are just some small skills. Lin Feng easily dodged them. After that, he threw a blazing flower wreath at Douluo. In a flash, he disappeared without a trace. If the Dream God Machine and Lin had tried their best to stop Lin Feng, they might have been able to stop him. However, the 2 of them didn't do so. Although Douluo was a tidal Douluo, the 3 of them didn't have to risk their lives for him. Since the masked man was going to leave, the danger had been averted. There was no need for them to risk their lives. Furthermore, the masked man was a super expert who could suppress Douluo. If they angered him, what if the masked man attacked them? Under such circumstances, Lin Feng's avatar easily left. Why didn't you stop him? Douluo rushed over angrily after blocking Lin Feng's fireball. He had been suppressed and injured, but he still wanted to stop Lin Feng. He wanted to wait for others to come over and kill him. If he let him escape now, his injuries would have been for nothing. Although the 3 of them weren't the reason, Douluo could only vent his anger on them. Of course, the 3 of them were not to be trifled with. The Dream God Machine retorted, His Majesty Douluo is a tidal Douluo, but he couldn't stop him. How can we, three-souled Douluo, stop him. Do you want us to pay with our lives? The three-souled Douluo were not weaklings. They enjoyed high status in the world of soul cultivators. Although they weren't as powerful as a titled Douluo, the three of them were as powerful as a titled Douluo. Douluo calmed down after hearing the dream god machine's words. After all, Lin Feng had run away. There was no point in saying anything. Please forgive me. I was too impatient. I didn't mean for you to risk your lives. At this moment, the two titled Douluo from Heavendo City also rushed over. But they didn't show up right away. After all, they were titled Douluo who had been hiding. It was better for them not to expose themselves. They talked with Douluo for a while and then went back. Chapter 177. Not long after the battle ended, Flanders and the others arrived and stood behind Dream Shinji and the other two soul masters. At this time, Prince Xuexing and the fourth prince, Avalanche, walked over to Douluo's side. Dream Shinji asked the prince why he was here. The prince's mind was in a mess, and he couldn't say anything. After chatting for a while, they walked up the mountain together. On the other side, Lin Feng's avatar took a detour and hid near the Education Committee Hall. At this time, the system's notification sounded. Ding! After an exciting battle, host has injured the level 91 title Douluo. Host battle experience has increased. Experience plus 862 for 815. Ding. After a short battle, host has intimidated the level 86 Douluo Dream Shinji, level 85 Douluo by Baoshan, and level 83 Douluo Jilin. Host battle experience has increased. Experience plus 315 5415. Did this count as two battles? This was beyond Lin Feng's expectations. He had thought that it would just be a battle. However, it was just a simple deterrence and didn't give him much experience. The three Douluo Soul Masters only gave him a little over 3 million experience points. Lin Feng remembered that the last time he fought Douluo, he had 9 million experience points. Now, he only had 8 million, which was a few 100,000 less. But overall, he had earned over 10 million experience points in one battle. This was comparable to half a month's worth of experience points in the Star Do Great Forest. This efficiency was simply too high. Lin Feng was in Heavendo City right now. There were many titled Douluo Soul Masters in the city. If he could find a few more opportunities, wouldn't his experience points increase? When he obtained his 8-soul ring and upgraded it to a 100,000-year soul ring, Lin Feng's strength would increase again. Even if two titled Douluo Soul Masters came at him at the same time, his avatar would be able to take them on. Just as Lin Feng was thinking about this, the Dream God Machine and the rest had already arrived outside the Education Committee Hall. At the same time, at the foot of the mountain, Xuexing arrived at the location of the battle. After observing for a while, he walked up the mountain. Because of their anxiety, the Grand Masters and the others were waiting at the entrance of the Education Committee. Flender and the others were the first to step forward, while the Dream God Machine spoke in a clear voice. Your Highness, let me introduce you. These are people from the Shrek Academy. They're here to discuss a partnership with us. Along the way, the Dream God Machine had given Flanders a look, telling him not to get too close. That was why he had been keeping a small distance behind them. Dean Flanders, this is Prince Xuexing of the Heavendo Empire. Our Heavendo Imperial Academy is currently under his administration. In the ambush, just now, even Douluo had been suppressed. Prince Xuexing was in a bad mood, and so was Avalanche. Before Flanders could say anything, Prince Xuexing said with disdain, Shrek Academy? An academy that I've never heard of. I think it's some mediocre academy. Dream God Machine, how could you let such an unknown person in? If it weren't for the fact that Prince Xuexing was still in a bad mood at the foot of the mountain, he would have made things difficult. But this was also an opportunity. Zhao Wuji had a bad temper. Even though he knew that Douluo was right next to him, he still wanted to talk back to this prince. This person's face was extremely arrogant. Along the way, Zhao Wuji had long found this fellow an eyesore. But Flanders was still calm. He suppressed his anger and pulled Zhao Wuji back. This was a world where the strong were respected. They were weak, so they had to endure it. Flanders didn't see the battle just now, but Xue Xing and the Dream God Machine had been talking about it along the way. They knew about Douluo's identity and that he didn't have an advantage in the battle. Douluo was probably still angry. If they dared to provoke the prince, he would probably kill them. So Flanders had to endure it. At this moment, the Dream God Machine said, "Your Highness, the Shrek Academy isn't very famous, but the soul masters they cultivate are all very outstanding. Take our Academy's teacher Qin, for example. He graduated from Shrek Academy, and he's already a soul emperor at the age of 34. He's a genius who has a chance of becoming a titled Douluo in the future." "Oh, Qin Ming is also from the Shrek Academy?" Xue Xing was surprised. He knew about Qin Ming's talent. He was the youngest teacher in the Heaven Do rank, and also the one who had the potential to become a titled Douluo. Xue Xing didn't know that he was from the Shrek Academy. After all, it was already very good for someone like the principal to remember the name of an outstanding teacher. In fact, if Qin Ming hadn't told the 3 education committee members, they wouldn't have known that the Shrek Academy was so powerful. However, if that was the case, this matter would be difficult to handle. Xue Xing came here to help Xue Xing and also to weaken Xue Xing's strength. Heaven Do Imperial Academy was under his control on the surface, but in reality, the 3 education committee members were Xue Xing's people. Didn't Xue Xing know how strong the people from the Shrek Academy were? Of course he knew, but it was because they were strong that he didn't let them join. Otherwise, they would only increase Xue Xing's strength. But Qin Ming was different. After he became a soul emperor at the beginning of the year, the prince's people had already started to rope him in. The situation was a little complicated now. If the prince chased away the people from Shrek, he would stand up for Avalanche, but he would definitely become enemies with Qin Ming. It would be difficult to rope him in. But if he didn't chase away the people from Shrek, not to mention Avalanche, Xue Xing's strength would continue to increase. In the future, Avalanche's bloodline would have a smaller chance of fighting for the throne. After thinking for a while, he said, "Dream God Machine, the Academy has rules. There are tests for students and teachers. I wonder if these people passed." Xue Xing was thinking, should he chase these people away? If he didn't dare to leave, what was the possibility of them being roped in? Because he hadn't made a choice yet, he was making a decision while talking. On the side, Jilin couldn't help but say, "These kids defeated our Academy's most outstanding team, the Imperial Battle Team. I'm sure your Highness knows what this means. These teachers are all Heaven Do level teachers. Soul masters of this level are exempt from the test." Just as Xue Xing was about to say something, a burst of hearty laughter came from the door. "What wind is blowing today? Why is the education committee so lively? Even Prince Xue Xing and my good-for-nothing younger brother are here." Chapter 178. Hearing this, everyone immediately turned around and saw a young man in luxurious clothes walking in with a smile. Prince Xue Xing's expression changed as he bowed slightly. "Greetings, Your Highness." Beside him, a trace of fear flashed across Avalanche's eyes as he hurriedly bowed. "Greetings, Your Highness." Xue Xinghe was actually the 3rd prince, but his 2 older brothers were poisoned to death by the 3rd prince. Thus, the crown prince took over Xue Xinghe's position. If not for the fact that Avalanche had always been arrogant and despotic, pretending to be a hedonistic young master, perhaps he would have also been killed. When the 3 education committee members saw Xue Xinghe enter, they also bowed. Flanders and the other teachers also bowed. As for Douluo, he nodded slightly as a greeting. As a titled Douluo, he had many privileges. For example, his status was second only to the emperor, and he didn't need to bow to anyone. As for Lin Feng, of course, he didn't need to bow. He stood in the crowd and easily blended in. However, in his heart, he was slightly puzzled. Why is Xue Xinghe here? This didn't happen in the original story. Were they left behind? Lin Feng didn't stop Prince Xue Xing from going up the mountain. The reason was simple. He didn't plan to stay at the Heaven Do Academy. If the Heaven Do Academy was used for cultivation, the effects would be indescribable. After all, there was a powerful mimicry environment and equipment to increase the concentration of energy. However, Lin Feng didn't want to cultivate. He wanted to fight. After entering the Heaven-Do city, Lin Feng could use his clones to search for experts in the surroundings. He could find out where Douluo was hiding and so on. As long as he had time, he could come up with all sorts of plans to lure Douluo out to fight. As long as he was well informed, Lin Feng would even dare to fight someone in the Heaven-Do city and run away. How exciting! As for the Heaven-Do Academy, it was too far away from the Heaven-Do city. Lin Feng didn't want to stay here. Everyone, there's no need to be so polite. Shui Qinghe smiled slightly, but his eyes were scanning Tang San and the others. He wanted to see who this black tiger Afu was. I heard your highness say that you have a problem with the Shrek Academy joining our Heaven-Do Academy. Shui Qinghe continued, I've seen the information on the people from Shrek Academy. I'm here specifically for this matter. In the original novel, Shui Qinghe did not care about this matter. But this time, because of Lin Feng, he came personally. I wouldn't dare to object, but she had been hesitating just a moment ago. But now Shui Xing no longer hesitated. The Crown Prince valued the Shrek Academy so much that they couldn't be allowed to join. The Heaven-Do Imperial Academy is the backbone of the Empire. It's the foundation of the Empire, and it's always been a source of excellent soul masters for the Empire. The teachers of the Academy have contributed greatly to the excellence of the students, as they have a great influence on the students. If the teachers are arrogant and despotic, then the Empire's future will be damaged. I heard from Avalanche that these people from Shrek Academy beat him up at the foot of the Academy's mountain the moment they arrived. Putting aside Avalanche's identity as the fourth prince, how can such a domineering person be a teacher of the Academy? Oh, fourth brother was beaten up? Is there such a thing? Although Shui Qinghe's question was directed at Avalanche, he was looking at the Dream God Machine, Flanders, and the others. Flanders said indifferently, Your Highness, I think you should ask the fourth prince why he was beaten up. Shui Qinghe coldly snorted. Let's not talk about Avalanche's mistake for now. Under my management, the Heaven-Do Academy has always been kind of talents. Since you all want to join our Heaven-Do Academy, then show me your true abilities and prove your strength. Otherwise, if you're too useless, then even the Crown Prince won't be able to casually send people in. Without further ado, Shui Qinghe prepared to launch an attack. He was still very confident. Although the Crown Prince was powerful, he wasn't completely in power. He wasn't afraid at all. Even if the Crown Prince became the Emperor, he wouldn't be able to do anything to him. Shui Qinghe was a prince, and Douluo was a guest elder. At most, he would be suppressed. Then how does your highness want us to prove ourselves? Flanders said. Shui Qinghe smiled indifferently and said, I heard from the Dream God Machine's leader that your Shrek Academy's teacher came out of nowhere and wanted to bring his students to teach. Furthermore, he made all sorts of harsh demands. Our Heaven-Do Academy is not a charity, and we don't raise useless people for free. Since that's the case, I'll set a harsh demand. If all of you combined can last 5 minutes against Mr. Douluo, then I'll accept your conditions. Otherwise, get out of here immediately. Objectively speaking, without knowing that Tang San and the others were geniuses, Shrek Academy's conditions were too harsh. However, Shui Qinghe's demand was even harsher. Against the titled Douluo, Flanders and the others were only soul sages. If they activated their martial soul true bodies, they might be able to last a minute, but 5 minutes? It was impossible. The Heaven-Do Academy's test doesn't involve a titled Douluo, right? Shui Qinghe narrowed his eyes and said, I think the Shrek Academy's teachers and students are qualified to join the Heaven-Do Academy. What do you think, Your Highness? At this moment, Shui Qinghe's heart was blooming with joy. This Grand Prince was too awesome. The more he suppressed them, the more weight his words would carry in their hearts. Even if they didn't stay in the Heaven-Do Academy, they would still have a good impression of the Crown Prince. In that case, he would have achieved his goal. Your Highness, aren't you being a little too nosy? It's fine if you're interested in the Shrek Academy, but don't forget that I'm the administrator of the Heaven-Do Academy. I have the power to dismiss people. My test isn't too harsh. It's just that my conditions are a little stricter than theirs. Shui Qinghe said indifferently. He bowed to Douluo and said, Mr. Douluo, please test these people. Xuexing was right. He was the administrator of the Heaven-Do Academy. He could dismiss anyone he wanted. Before the Emperor of Heaven-Do removed him from his position, the Heaven-Do Academy was his. Xuexing didn't know what to say about this matter. However, he thought of something and said, "Your Highness Douluo, I heard that your granddaughter Douluo Yin is also studying at the Heaven-Do Academy. The students taught by the Shrek Academy's teachers are all monsters. Don't you want your granddaughter to have a better future?" Xuexing was looking down on the Heaven-Do Academy's teachers. If the Imperial Do battle team were considered geniuses, then the Shrek Academy students were monsters. Chapter 179. Yenner did tell me that the students of the Shrek Academy are very powerful. However, Yenner is under my tutelage. Does your Highness mean that I can't compare to these puny soul sages? Douluo snorted coldly, which made Xuexing feel a little embarrassed. His original intention was to give Douluo Yin a better future in exchange for Douluo's support. However, Douluo interpreted it as looking down on him. There was nothing he could do about it. At the side, the Crown Prince had spoken up for the Shrek Academy twice. Flanders was quite touched. However, he also knew that today's matter was probably over. Xuexing doesn't think so, but Xuexing frowned slightly. "Since you don't think so, then let's cut the crap." Douluo interrupted him and smiled faintly. "You guys from Shrek Academy, use your strength to prove yourselves." After being beaten up just now, he had nowhere to vent his anger. Now that these few targets were sent to him, he had to give them a good beating. As he spoke, a strong green light was emitted from Douluo's body. 9 dazzling soul rings revolved around Douluo's body, and the dazzling light caused the entire hall to become dazzling. The powerful pressure that belonged to the titled Thaw made the entire hall feel as if a storm was coming. Flanders and the others were afraid that the children behind them would be in danger. They all released their auras to resist. However, the titled law was too strong. Soul sages like them were nothing in front of him. At this moment, unlike the others who were focused on Douluo, Xuexing was looking at Tang San and the other children from the beginning. He wanted to see who was the black tiger, Fu. As for Lin Feng, he had obviously noticed this as well. He didn't show any abnormalities and pretended to be in a difficult situation. However, in his heart, he thought it's about time. Since the Crown Prince is so determined, Meng Xinji and the others should also realize this. As for Douluo, it's time for him to scram. With that thought in mind, Lin Feng's incarnation, which had been hiding outside the Education Committee's hall, immediately moved. He didn't show himself directly. Instead, he shouted from outside, "Old man Douluo, your grandfather is here. Come out and face your death." His voice contained an enormous amount of soul power, and it spread throughout the entire Heaven-Do Imperial Academy. Douluo was still incomparably awe-inspiring just now. But the moment he heard these words, an angry expression immediately surfaced on his face. "I'm going to kill you." With a roar, Douluo dashed out. They had gone too far. They had gone too far. Not long after he left, he actually dared to come back. Douluo's lungs were about to explode from anger. Not far from the Education Committee's hall, Ingluan Doa, who was in charge of protecting Xuexing, was stunned. Just now, he actually didn't notice how this guy came out. This really shocked him. One had to know that Shadow Wheel, Douluo's martial soul, was very special. It was a wheel hidden in the shadows, so it was called the Shadow Wheel. His concealment skills were extremely powerful. Even though he was less than 100 meters away from Douluo, the other party still didn't notice him. He was an expert assassin. Just now, this masked man was less than 50 meters away from him. The other party shouldn't have noticed him. This was normal because his martial soul was powerful. But it didn't make sense that he didn't notice the other party. This masked man's martial soul seemed to be a rod. How could his concealment skills be so strong? However, how could he know that Lin Feng had covered himself with the 1000G ruler? Not to mention 50 meters, even if you were 1 meter above him. As long as you didn't come into contact with him, there was no way to discover you. Of course, this was limited to hiding in place. If he moved, he would still be easily discovered. In the hall, everyone was stunned. That guy came back to kill. The three-soul Douluo rushed out immediately. Flanders and the rest also had serious expressions. As for Xing and Avalanche, they were slightly afraid. They had witnessed the masked man's strength with their own eyes. He was too powerful to be able to suppress Douluo. They couldn't help but be afraid. Xing wasn't afraid. With a tidal daw secretly protecting him, he was more curious. Curious about who this Thanos was? Curious about the relationship between this Thanos and the Black Tiger Fu? Curious about why this Thanos was looking for trouble with Douluo? With this thought, he looked at Tang San and the others with interest. Finally, he fixed his eyes on Lin Feng. Although he didn't know who the Black Tiger Fu was, he had a feeling that it was Lin Feng. Also, he had a strange sense of familiarity. It was as if he had seen Lin Feng before. But Xing didn't think too much about it. It was normal to feel familiar. Maybe it was because he was related to Thanos. As for Lin Feng, was he Thanos? That was impossible. This thought had never crossed Xing's mind. He thought that there was a possibility that Black Tiger Fu was Thanos' son or nephew or something. But this possibility wasn't big. Xing felt that the most likely possibility was that the Black Tiger Fu was Thanos' grandson. The one they met in the Sunset Forest, including the one who led people to farm for soul rings in the Soul Hunting Forest, was Thanos' son. It was just that his son was using his father's title. The current Thanos was the real Thanos. Otherwise, it was unbelievable that a Soul Emperor could become a titled Douluo in just a few years. Unless it was the power of a god. Just as Xing was thinking about this, outside, Lin Feng's clone had run away. He wouldn't get any experience points from fighting Douluo again. Why would he waste his energy? Therefore, he ran away. In the air, Douluo shouted for Lin Feng to come out and fight. But it was all in vain. Douluo was infuriated for a while before he returned. Prince Xing was about to go up and say something when Lin Feng's clone shouted again, "Old man Douluo, your grandfather is here again." Douluo was so angry that he couldn't speak. He hadn't even landed on the ground, but he had already rushed out again. Everyone, Prince Xing put down his hand silently. His mood was very heavy. At this moment, Ing Luandoa sent a voice transmission to Xing. "Your Highness, should I make a move?" Ing Luandoa's assassination skills were very strong. Although he was only rank 93, he even dared to assassinate a rank 95 title Douluo. This Thanos, with Douluo holding him back, he was confident that he could injure him severely or even kill him. Xing shook his head silently. He could see that this Thanos was purely toying with Douluo. But what was his goal? To make everyone from Shrek stay? If that was the case, he should be fighting with Douluo instead of toying with him. To make everyone from Shrek leave? This way, he wouldn't have to come out at all. So at this moment, Xing was very confused. He couldn't understand what Thanos' goal was. Was he purely toying with Douluo? Chapter 180. Today, everyone's horizons have been broadened. Douluo was a titled Douluo, but he had been tricked several times. Yes, Lin Feng had tricked him 3 times. In the end, Douluo realized that he would only be humiliated if he continued like this. He left with Xing and Avalanche. In the hall of the Board of Education, the 3 members of the Board of Education stood there in a daze. They looked as if they had seen a ghost. The main reason was that such a situation was far too rare. Toying with the title Douluo was simply too shocking. At the same time, they were on high alert. Would the Heaven Do Academy be attacked after Poison Douluo abandoned them? The masked man's main target was Douluo. But who knew if he would vent his anger on the Heaven Do Academy? The 3 members of the Board of Education were on high alert. Tang Sin asked the master, "Sir, was that Douluo the poison?" "Yes. His surname is Douluo, and he is titled as Douluo. As far as I can remember, he could only be Poison Douluo." The master sighed. "I can't believe that a titled battle pet warrior like Douluo would be beaten up," Ning Rongrong exclaimed. Ning Rongrong knew how powerful a titled battle pet warrior like Douluo was. After all, she had met 2 titled battle pet warriors, Douluo's grandfathers, all the time. At this moment, Douluo was being suppressed. Although no one saw who was beating him up, it didn't stop them from worshipping him. Zhao Wuji, Flanders, and the other teachers were shocked. But that wasn't the main issue. They were wondering if they could stay at the Heaven Do Academy. Fu, old man, we can't stay here. That Grand Prince has direct authority over this place. Even if we stay here, they will find a chance to kick us out. Zhao Wuji said disdainfully. The way I see it, the Grand Prince is blind. Let's go back to the Shrek Academy. Anyway, we've earned about 10,000 gold coins before. If we pool it together, we can still give the children a good environment. Qin Ming, who was at the side, quickly said, Teachers, don't be anxious. The prince has already left, and the 3 education commissioners have yet to make a final decision. We can still discuss it. Flanders sighed. I think we shouldn't. Because of our existence, if the 3 education commissioners were to oppose the prince, then we might as well leave. At this moment, Flanders's heart was already somewhat tired. The 2 academies were clearly having a pleasant discussion, and both sides had already agreed, but because of this bullshit prince's words, they had no choice but to leave. For a moment, Flanders had a very bad impression of these nobles. In fact, Flinder even felt a little anti-aristocratic in his heart. If they could become titled Douluo in the future, they would definitely take revenge for what had happened today. But for now, they should go back to where they came from. Otherwise, they would put the 3 education commissioners in a difficult position, and that wasn't something they wanted to see. That Grand Prince has gone too far. It won't be good to stay here. Let's go. Xiao Xian agreed. Because the 3 education commissioners had to be on guard against Lin Feng's incarnation, they didn't let their guard down. Xue Qinghe walked over from the side. Everyone, please wait. Although the prince is in charge of the Heaven Do Imperial Academy, it was foolish of him to make such a wrong decision. I will report this matter to His Majesty. I'm sure you will be kept here. Hearing this, Flanders felt that the Crown Prince was truly a good person. He had been speaking up for them since the beginning, and now he was even going to report this matter to His Majesty. They were extremely touched. Of course, the Crown Prince might have helped them because they were geniuses, but if he were to help them report this matter to His Majesty, it would be a favor. Flanders didn't want to owe anyone a favor, so he decided to let it go. With that in mind, Flanders bowed. Thank you, Your Highness, for your help. But since things have come to this, there is no need to trouble Your Highness. It is better for us, the people of the Shrek Academy, to leave. Master Lin walked over. That's right. Rather than being targeted here, it is better for us to go back. Even if the 3 education commissioners had agreed, even if the Crown Prince had reported this matter, the prince would still have them. After all, they had the support of Douluo. There wasn't much hope for them to stay. Seniors, Your Highness, this is it for today. I, Flanders, will visit again in the future. Flanders cupped his fists and led the way. He didn't want to stay in this place any longer. The 3 education commissioners sighed. They wanted to persuade him to stay, but in the end, they didn't say anything. Xue Qinghe didn't say anything either. His purpose here today was to improve his favorability in front of Lin Feng. If he did anything else, his intentions would be too obvious and it might backfire. But when he left, he kept looking at Lin Feng, but the latter didn't even look at him. Interesting. This made Xue Qinghe even more certain of his guess. It seems that Black Tiger, Ah Fu, knows about what happened in the Setting Sun Forest. His father must have told him. Qin Ming stood in place, stunned. Then, he followed the Shrek Academy group. He was going to send them off. In the original story, Qin Ming left Heaven Do Imperial Academy, mainly because he was too arrogant in the eyes of the prince. He was also ridiculed by the title Douluo. Coupled with his emotional fluctuations, he resigned from his teaching position. This time, his words weren't on point. With the Crown Prince beside him, he didn't resign. He sent the Shrek Academy group all the way down the mountain. Dean, this time, it's really... Before Qin Ming could finish his sentence, Flanders smiled. Qin Ming, you're already doing very well. This isn't your fault. Don't feel burdened. The 3 education committee members all think very highly of you. Don't fall out because of what happened between us. All right, there's no need to send us off. Go back and try to become a soul sage as soon as possible. Flanders didn't want to say anything else. He quickly persuaded Qin Ming to go back. At this time, Xiao Wu, who had relaxed, ran over to Lin Feng and asked, "Feng Ge, where's Xiaoing? Why don't I see him?" Xiao Wu was extremely nervous when she was in the education committee's hall. When Douluo came in, she was so nervous that she shrank behind Lin Feng and Tang San. However, this time was the same as last time in the Star Do Great Forest. Even when Soul Douluo and Tidal Douluo looked at her, they didn't discover her identity. This made Xiao Wu very puzzled. Didn't the elders of the Soul Beast world say that before one became a Soul Emperor, Soul Douluo and above would be able to discover her true identity? How come she wasn't discovered after so many crises? Was she special, or were these elders lying? Xiao Wu hadn't paid attention to anything because she was nervous. Now that they were down the mountain, she paid attention to Xiaoing. Rubbing Xiaoing was Xiao Wu's first choice to relax. Chapter 181. Xiaoing had been placed in a room by Lin Feng. After Douluo left, his incarnation brought him down the mountain, and he was now beside him. He's right in front. He ran down the mountain to play in the morning. Call his name, and he should come out. Lin Feng said casually. Hearing this, Xiao Wu immediately called out Xiao Ying's name. After a while, Xiao Ying came out and threw himself into Xiao Wu's arms, making her laugh. At this time, Lin Feng was thinking about Xue his intentions. After seeing this guy appear today, Lin Feng had been in a tense state, ready to capture Xue at any time. Why'd he do this? Because this guy had the Martial Soul Hall behind him. Lin Feng thought that he was here to capture him. Although the possibility was very low, he had to be careful. But now he was a little dumbfounded. Xue wanted to keep Shrek Academy. Why? And what was the meaning of him doing this? Was he purely trying to get on his good side? Would he send people to contact him later, and then completely rope him in? Actually, Lin Feng was right. Xue was trying to get on his good side alone. Of course, it wasn't just for Lin Feng. He was also trying to get on everyone's good side. If it was before, he might not have paid attention to Shrek Academy. But because of Lin Feng, he specially investigated this academy. He didn't know if he didn't investigate, but when he did, he was shocked. This academy was simply a monster academy. Qin Ming, the genius that he wanted to rope in, was from Shrek Academy. There was also Black Tiger, Ah Fu, and Shrek's 7 monsters. Needless to say, Black Tiger Ah Fu was definitely someone he wanted to rope in. Shrek's 7 monsters was actually a team of soul elders who were only 13 years old on average. Furthermore, they even obtained the Golden Battle Soul Emblem. Such a young soul exalt with such strength. If they were properly nurtured, Xue felt that their upper limit would be at least Soul Douluo's level. Therefore, after they left, Xue immediately ordered his men to follow them. President, why don't we expand the Shrek Academy? With our strength, we could go to Heavendo City Soul Dueling Arena and fight a few rounds. When the time comes, you can bet on us and make a fortune. At the foot of the mountain, everyone was discussing what to do. Dai Mubai was the first to express his opinion. Sai, I'm no longer in the mood to reopen the academy. I guess I've been too tired all these years. Flanders sighed. Although he had said that he wanted to go back, he was actually very confused now. He didn't even know if they should go back. Just as Dai Mubai had said, with their current strength, it was not difficult to earn money. However, they still had to carefully consider the school. Then what should we do now? Zhao Wuji was also confused. Ning Rongrong said from the side, President, why don't we go to the 7 Treasures Glaze School? My father will be very happy if you go there. Furthermore, the 7 Treasures Glaze School isn't far from here. We'll be there soon. Flanders shook his head. Forget it. It doesn't feel good to live under someone else's roof. I appreciate Rongrong's good intentions. President, don't worry. Our 7 Treasures Glaze School is very strong. Furthermore, my father will definitely treat you well. As long as, halfway through his words, a middle-aged man came running over. Everyone subconsciously looked over. Even Ning Rongrong stopped talking. Not long after, the man came over and bowed to everyone. This one is Yi Yongping, a rank 56 Soul King. I've been ordered by the Crown Prince to be everyone's tour guide in Heavendo City. The Crown Prince? Flanders was stunned. Do you have any other instructions? No. The Crown Prince said that you came from afar and that you didn't join the Heaven-Do Academy. He feels very guilty. All your expenses in Heaven-Do City for the next 3 days will be on the Crown Prince's tab, Yanping said. This. Flanders never thought that the Crown Prince would think so highly of them. The others were also surprised. His Highness the Crown Prince was too nice. Just a moment ago, they were still thinking that there weren't any good nobles. There were too few good people. But now their thoughts had changed. Most nobles should be good people. Only this bullshit prince was a fool. Look at the Crown Prince, he was so kind. It was that simple to win over people's hearts. Say a few good words, then send someone over. A few simple things could win a lot of goodwill. Lin Feng glanced at Tang San. He could see a hint of a smile on his face. There was no need to mention the others. They were all very happy. Since that's the case, we'll have to trouble you. We were just about to take a stroll around Heaven-Do City. Flanders thought that since they were already in the Imperial City, they might as well go in and take a look. Furthermore, the future of the Shrek Academy couldn't be decided rashly. They had to find a place to discuss it. Just like that, the group walked toward Heaven-Do City under Yanping's lead. Heaven-Do City was very large and imposing. As one of the 2 largest and most prosperous cities on the continent, Heaven-Do city walls were over 100 meters tall. They were all constructed from solid granite. There were soldiers patrolling the city walls. They were all clad in full armor and wielded long spears. They were all elite soldiers. From afar, the crowd could see the flag fluttering on the top of the city wall. The towering city wall was really shocking. Even Lin Feng was so shocked that his jaw dropped. 100-meter-tall city wall. This kind of building could only be built in Douluo's fantasy world. Lin Feng had never seen such a scene before. As he got closer, the towering and unadorned feeling washed over his senses. Tall buildings were all too common. Furthermore, they were all built one after another. Perhaps a few 100 meters tall would shock people, but they would quickly be forgotten. However, a 100-meter-tall city wall like this would stretch for several kilometers. Heaven-Do city gates were very large. There was a main gate that was 10 meters long and wide, and 2 side gates that were 5 meters long and wide. The main gate was normally closed, and only the side gates were open for people to enter and exit. Just as everyone was about to enter the city, Flanders' attention was drawn to a huge announcement on the bulletin board. Blue Tyrant Advanced Soul Master Academy. Due to the need to expand the school, we are currently hiring 10 teachers. Requirements: rank 40 or above soul power. The higher your soul power, the better. Once hired, you will receive preferential treatment. Flanders exclaimed, "This academy is so impressive. They're advertising right at the city gates. How much money will they have to spend?" That's right. This guy's first thought was none other than how much money this advertisement would cost. The bulletin board outside the city was only so big. This Blue Tyrant Academy's advertisement took up half of the space. TSK, rich people. Chapter 182. After realizing that everyone was interested in the advertisement, Yanping hurriedly said, "There are many advanced Soul Master Academies in Heaven-Do City. If you want to work, I can take you to Tsanghui Academy. Tsanghui Academy is a good academy, and it just so happens that they are recruiting recently." On the surface, he was here to be a guide, but in fact, he had received a mission to guide everyone into an academy that supported His Highness the Crown Prince. And this Tsanghui Academy was his first choice. However, what he didn't expect was that Tang San and the others had encountered Tsanghui Academy before and knew how strong they were. The Soul King who was knocked down by Lin Feng with one punch was a teacher from Tsanghui Academy. So at this time, everyone didn't have a good impression of Tsanghui Academy. Hearing Yanping's words, everyone's expression was slightly strange. However, Yanping didn't notice and continued. Tsanghui Academy's teaching is rigorous. Their students are all very outstanding, and their teachers are all strong. At this point, Yanping finally noticed the abnormality. Why are the expressions on these people's faces getting weirder and weirder? Did I say something wrong? But there's no mistake. Tsanghui Academy is a very strong academy. Dai Mubai couldn't help but say, "Senior, that Tsanghui Academy is a trash academy." We met them when we were in the Star Doe Great Forest. They're too trashy. Have we met in the Great Star Doe Forest? Yan Ping was stunned. Such a coincidence? He knew that because the Star Doe Great Forest was the largest forest, many academies in Heaven Do City would organize students to go there from time to time to see the world and at the same time obtain soul rings. But this was too much of a coincidence. The first academy he introduced was Shrek Academy, and it didn't sound like he had a good impression of them. Although he was ridiculing in his heart, he still said on the surface, Songhui Academy may have some students who are very weak, but their overall strength is still very strong. In the last Continental Elite Academy tournament, they entered the top 32 in the Heaven-Do district. Top 32, and you have the nerve to say that? Everyone cursed in their hearts. Flanders coughed and said, "That reminds me. Originally, I didn't plan on applying. Now that you've mentioned it, I think I can give this Blue Tyrant Academy a try. After all, I'll have to obtain the qualifications to participate in this competition. Moreover, I want to show that prince what kind of genius he missed out on." Hearing this, Yang Ping wanted to cry, but had no tears. That Blue Tyrant Academy was stubborn and only recruited commoners. If Shrek's group were to join, he definitely wouldn't be able to complete the task the Crown Prince had given him. Just as he was about to continue persuading, Flanders asked, "How big is this Blue Tyrant Academy?" Yang Ping explained, "It's about a third of the size of Heaven Do Imperial Academy. It's already very big in the city. 1/3 of it is already very big. Let's go. Let's take a look over there." Flanders waved a hand and led everyone into Heaven Do City. Yang Ping was speechless. Wasn't he shooting himself in the foot? Clearly, this group of people didn't have any thoughts of applying, but after hearing his words, they did. Helplessly shaking his head, he hurriedly walked over and introduced the Blue Tyrant Academy. He could only hope that they wouldn't take a liking to this commoner academy. Heaven Do City was bustling with activity. The streets were filled with pedestrians, and the streets were paved with green bricks. Furthermore, every street was extremely wide, comparable to the main streets of Soto City. Fengge, this place is so imposing. As expected of a main city. Tang sighed as they walked down the street. Lin Feng nodded lightly. "It is indeed very imposing. It's beyond my expectations." Unlike the others who only looked to the surface, Lin Feng was currently sensing the auras of experts around him. It had to be said that Heaven Domain City had a lot of experts. He'd seen 3 soul emperors and a soul sage guarding the gate. Now that he was walking down the main street, he could see soul cultivators, soul ancestors, and soul kings everywhere. They'd only just entered the academy. If they walked a few more steps, Soul Douluo might have discovered them. As for title Douluo, Lin Feng still wouldn't be able to detect them if they deliberately hid themselves. He could only find them if they appeared beside him. The Blue Tyrant Academy wasn't in the center of the city. It was in the outskirts. Under Yang Ping's guidance, the group walked for nearly half an hour before arriving. This guy was purposely walking so slowly. Along the way, he kept introducing the other academies and the surrounding shops. In any case, he wasn't focused on leading the way, which was why they walked for so long. But in the end, they still arrived at the entrance of the Blue Tyrant Academy. This entrance was very imposing. It was actually about the same height as Heaven Do city gates, close to 10 meters. It was carved from white marble. Although it wasn't as thick as the city gates, it was very imposing. There were 8 large golden words on it: Blue Tyrant Advanced Soul Master Academy. This entrance could be summed up with one word: rich. Coupled with the advertisement at the city gates, at least in the eyes of the crowd, this Blue Tyrant Academy was very rich. Because of the advertisement, there was a special reception area at the entrance of the Blue Tyrant Academy. There was a sign at the entrance that said Recruitment Room. A middle-aged man, around 40 years old, was overseeing this place. He was a teacher of the Blue Tyrant Academy and was in charge of recruiting teachers. He had already stayed in this damn place for several days. There were very few soul masters who had come to register because the treatment of being a teacher was too poor. Soul masters who could reach the rank of soul ancestor were already considered high-ranking soul masters. And if these soul masters chose to rely on large clans, their treatment would be better than being a teacher. Seeing a group of people suddenly walk in at the entrance, his spirits were lifted. Blue Tyrant Academy, not bad. Looks like they're very rich. Flanders sighed as he looked at the entrance. Zhao Wuji chuckled. You're such a money grubber. So what if they're rich? We'll see how things go later. If this academy isn't to our liking, it's better if we leave. Yanping hurriedly added, That's right. The main thing is that it's to your liking. If the Blue Tyrant Academy isn't suitable, I have 2 or 3 other academies here that I can recommend. They'll definitely let you join. Flanders smiled, but didn't say anything. Not long after entering the city gates, he could tell that this guy wanted to pull them into one of the academies he recommended. The treatment should be very good. After all, it was the Crown Prince's idea. He wouldn't treat them unfairly. However, Flanders was afraid that those places wouldn't be to his liking, so he kept delaying Yanping's words. He was prepared to look at a few academies first. If they really weren't to his liking, then he'd go take a look at the academies Yanping recommended. Right now, it was better to go to the Blue Tyrant Academy and give it a try. With that thought, he directly led everyone to the reception room.